Radio Gold, 90.5 FM, live on the live. Do it, star.
This radio station rules the era with
Radio Gold, 90.5 FM, live on the live. Do it, star.
This
Radio Gold, 90.5 FM, live on the live. Do it, star.
Or useless things.
This radio station.
But if it is working, let's just say that at least the people who arranged it have done something, because everybody who has any sense in their head knows that you cannot arrange that kind of facility within 2-3 months of coming into office. And I'm going to challenge my brother George to tell us how they arranged that facility for it to go live in 2 to 3 months after they came to office, because that would be a lie. You say you've established graduate employment, problem inherited, graduate employment, and you establish NABCO. Today you have sacked the NABCO people. You have sacked them. Perhaps Dr. Baumia doesn't know. Dr. Baumia, your government has sacked the NABCO people. You have sacked them. High import duties. Import duties have been they have been reduced today. Sana, import duties have been reduced today. As we speak today, the NDC has added 8 new taxes. 8. 8 to your tax burden. And Dr. Bamia said they've reduced taxes. Sana, do you know how they calculate duty today? If you bring goods to the port, they put NHIL levy and get fund on the CIF value of the products you bring. Does it even make sense? The government has found a way of fleecing importers by using an illegal mechanism to calculate duties. Let's use a common sense argument. So my brother George and his beautiful wife have brought a container to this country. The container cost $10,000. When it gets to the port, the government adds 2.5% NHIL levy, 2.5% debt fund, now 1% COVID levy. And then when they finish, they calculate VAT on the levies that they have added to your CIF value. George, you are a teacher. How is there added value to a statutory tax? How is that possible? Then when they finish, there are other levies, there are other taxes that you pay, like ECOWAS tax, other taxes, what do you call them? The shippers tax, stuff that's used to fund shippers council and things. When they finish, they add value to that one too for you to pay. And then they put another 1% on the 12.5%. So the COVID levy, you pay twice. George, after this program,
no, I agree with the calculation you put.
Listen, you know something? Mathematics. Let me just tell you something. Let me just tell you something. Mathematics is not something I don't know. Trust me.
I know. You're an engineer.
It is illegal. No, it's not. It is illegal. And Dr. Baumia says he has reduced import duties. What kind of joke is that?
I'm not cutting you. The 30 and 50%. What happens?
Hold on. Please.
Thank you.
You told another lie, but I'll get there. You said you have reduced 17. You have removed 17 nuisance taxes. You removed taxes on 17 items. It is not the same, George. You people like sophistry. You like to tell lies. You like to put icing on where there's no cake. You reduce taxes on 17 items. You didn't reduce 17 taxes. You have rather added 12 taxes. This country, You have reduced, you have increased ESLA by 27%. The ESLA that you people said when you were in opposition that we should not even begin to talk about because it was a nuisance tax. You have collateralized it, borrowed against it, and today our energy situation is suffering because the legacy debts haven't been paid. And yet you berated John Mahama on ESLA. So now we can't even touch the ESLA to use it to pay our debts. And the reason why lights are going off is because you have a debt situation. You cannot service your debts. And then he says, Dr. Bawumia goes on to say that they have implemented free SHS. As we speak today, the Minister of Education has made a stunning admission that there's no money to pay for free SHS. So parents who can afford it should come and help to pay. Am I lying? Son, am I lying? That is what the man said. We told you that free SHS should be progressive. First, get the infrastructure. When you get the infrastructure, sort out those who can pay so that they pay. Because whilst we say education should be free, we all know that technically it can never be free. Education is the most important thing you can be given in life. How can it be free? Somebody has to pay for it somehow.
Thank you.
Then you came, and because you want to do useless gimmicks, free, everything is free. Today, the education minister is saying that if parents can pay, they should help government pay. Why do you think he's saying that? He's saying that because you don't have any money to pay. That is the reason why children are going to school. 1 week later, they are coming back home. Oh, why? Students went to school. Do you want me to show it to you? Students went to school 1 week later, they came home. And the truth of the matter is that the heads of the institutions are saying they don't have money to feed the children. Because the money that is supposed to be given to them delays interminably. So you see, you can keep lying. You can keep telling tales. You can keep telling Ghanaians that what we say we are seeing, we are not seeing. Senna, item number 67. Illegal mining. Problem inherited. Illegal mining, Galamsey. We are fixing it. Yes. Well, what kind of joke is that? During the last administration, the minister who was in charge of Galamstop was heard on a tape discussing Party Jessica. The person who was coordinating the Galamstop was caught by Anas receiving bribes. When the excavators were seized, the Central Regional Deputy Central Regional Chairman of the MPP was the one who was assigned to collect the excavators and sell and put some of them back into the system to go and do Galamsey. Dr. Bawumia, you are fixing Galamsey. Look at the color of the River Pra. River Ankobra. And the problem is that the government apparatus itself is what they are. Those, the people in the government are those who are engaged in the illegal mining. Just yesterday, some people were caught by citizens who caught illegal miners who were operating on the instructions of people at Flagstaff House. Just yesterday, citizens caught people in the Kenton Forest Reserve. Yesterday, Ojoapong Nkrumah issued a statement yesterday, and he said the people who were caught It is rumored that they were working from Flagstaff House. It is not true. They are not working from Flagstaff House. But it has been established that they say that they were operating on orders of a temporary worker at Flagstaff House. So therefore, it should be discounted. But investigations are ongoing. Ladies and gentlemen, a temporary worker at the Flagstaff House is not a worker. If you are a temporary worker, are you not a worker? Because if I apply to you to be a temporary cameraman, during the period that my eye is inside the camera, am I not working for you? They say, no, the man's not working.
Sunshine Jubilee House work. I work for nothing.
George, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. You see, under normal circumstances, we will give Kojo Ponkuma the benefit of the doubt. Good. But you know why we can't do it? Ekwewusi has been released. Nobody knows what happened to his case. You remember Ekwewusi? So
he's my friend.
Okay.
My time,
what has happened to him?
What did he do?
Was he not charged with stealing and selling excavators? What has happened? What has happened to that tape on Galam Stop involving Professor Frimpong Boakye? Party Yesika, you heard the tape. What has happened? So how do you want us to believe that what they are saying is true? You see, the reason why you don't understand, but the reason why people are up in arms and the young people in this country are up in arms is that you people have been deceiving them.
We just came from election.
You have been deceived. Why? Let's not even start that. I beg. I don't want to go into what you people did during the elections. I don't want to go there. But suffice you to know that from 169 MPs in 2016, you had to kick, scream, name and kill to be at 137. You have absolutely no parliamentary advantage. Zero. Nothing. Your president or our president is struggling to explain how come he himself apparently performed so badly in an election that he thought he was going to win hands down. So your report has come out, and the report that has come out that we are all reading and nobody has disputed it, you saw the people who were blamed for how you supposedly performed so badly in the election. For me, well, George, the banking crisis was a problem that you people created. You spent more money closing the banks than the banks owed. It's a record. You have enumerated it in budgets, subsequent budgets. You spent more money in closing the banks than the banks actually owed. So you sent 56,000 young people home to go and sit at home and twiddle their thumbs. And just a few days ago, the president told CNN that he has achieved more in the fight against corruption than Ghanaians' wildest dreams. In fact, let me quote him properly, because I don't want to misquote the president of this republic. It is very important that I quote him and quote him right. This is what he said to Zainasha. I have distinguished myself in the fight against corruption beyond the wildest imagination of every Ghanaian. It is true. I agree with him. But what he left out is that he has distinguished the corruption in this government beyond the wildest imagination of Ghanaians. Because in this country today, we have a president whose relatives and friends took electricity corporation for themselves and decided to share it among themselves. We have heard audio. We have a president who is telling us that he's surcharging us for getting sick with COVID. There is no country in this world whose citizenry is being charged for getting sick. And when it comes to getting sick with COVID, I will know. How do I get sick? And I am charged for getting sick. I don't want to remind anybody of their pain, but some people have lost relatives. I have lost relatives. Our big brother Uncle Kwesi lost his brother to COVID. Now you are charging him for bringing him a disease that killed his brother. You can see you've done well. The money that you took for COVID, who was accounted for it? Where is it? They use it to cook rice without meat for people. And then they told us the stew, the stew has fish meal, so it was not protein deficient.
I was part of the people distributing it. Heavily. I had some multimedia comments.
You know something, George? I am glad to hear that you ate some of that food, because clearly that accounts for the way you are talking. Look.
What does that mean?
It means what it means. You see, we have to stop joking in this country. We live in a country where the president has superintended a Japa. Shocking, an absolutely shocking phenomenon.
One of the best policies.
So why did he run away from it, withdraw it, and now he's saying they should take it back?
It's one of the topics we'll talk about.
Why is he doing that? And you are interrupting me, so if I do the same thing, you don't complain. Because you are intentionally trying, you do this all the time. I won't mind you. I'll do the same thing to you. Why did he hurriedly withdraw it when the uproar came? Why did the erstwhile special prosecutor call this president the mother serpent of corruption? Because he tried to interfere with the investigation into Ejapa. Why did he try to do that? Today, as we sit here, the finance minister wrote to the CID and said that the PDS deal was fraught with fraud. The guarantee that was given was fraudulent. Has anybody been arrested? Who? One person, 2.5 years on, who has been arrested? The finance minister said, now listen, the finance minister of this country wrote to the CID. That letter was made public, it wasn't a secret. That there was fraud with the guarantee. It means somebody tried to steal 22.5 billion cedis of our money with a fraudulent guarantee. As we speak, nobody has been even called to question. Because you're also forgetting that when the PDS came into operation, for about 6 to 7 months, they were collecting revenues. About 2.5 billion cedis of worth of revenues. Where's the money? If I, Kojo Chumwafu, had collected 2.5 billion cedis worth of ECG revenues during the time NDC was in power, when the NPP came to power, where would I be? Where would I be? And Dr. Bawumia is talking about tackling corruption. And President Akufo-Addo is telling us that beyond our wildest dreams. You have supervised corruption. You have put 12 different taxes on the people of this country. 12. 8 just a few days ago. Tell us to tighten our belt. But you are driving around in Maybachs. Some of the president's henchmen are riding around in Rolls Royces, $400,000 vehicles. I won't mention their names.
Official.
Yes. I'll tell you after the program. Government officials. They drive it in the middle of the night, don't worry. So you won't know. George, this is sick. In this country, if any of John Mahama's people was doing those things, will we have heard again? Where are all the people who were insulting John Mahama and talking about corruption? Those who were singing, Sarkodie, where is he? Since this particular doom song came, I haven't heard this new hit. Where's his number one hit? I wanted to hear him say, you know, over the pop player, what up? What else? What else? And my light goes boom. And my feet goes poo poo poo. What else? I haven't heard that. Maybe I'll compose a few lines for him. I used to dabble in those things many years ago. I haven't seen Yvonne Nelson with a patash, with a lantern, walking from Legon to Circle. I haven't seen it.
I'll tell you why.
Don't tell me anything. My light went off 6 times a few days ago, came my fridge. And let me just bring the fridge to you and bring me another one. You know why? Because they don't want anybody to talk. So now they use the police as a tool to stop people from demonstrating. Then they'll tell you, oh, I heard George saying that, oh, let them go and demonstrate that because of doing so. When you were campaigning during the election period, was the imposition of incentives bill not there? When we were all campaigning, and I will not remove NDC from it, we were all campaigning. Who stopped us? When you were organizing demonstrations against John Mahama, who stopped you? That's when the police didn't see it.
Second wave.
It can be the fourth wave. Can be the fourth dimension. It is the hypocrisy that I'm exposing. So don't come here and come and tell us because and first of all, that impositions of restrictions bill had a sunset clause in it. It is not interminable and it is not forever. But you people should understand something. I have warned all of you, I've told you several times, that whatever you are doing now, remember that it will be done to you. So if you want to spread tyranny by stopping people from free expression, don't worry at all. Somebody will come who will institute it better than you. He will make sure that you, George, as soon as you leave this studio with the lies you have spilled, you are going into a meat wagon.
Engineer,
How's it say? Senna, we are in a country where things are getting difficult by the hour.
Fix it time.
I'm getting. But you, in 2016, before 20, prior to 2016, what didn't you say? You went to the extent. You went to the extent of groveling. Yes, so what has happened? You made it worse. Yes, I agree. So allow people to speak now. When you tell people that they have no sense for saying that fix it, why? Didn't you people ask President Mills that if President Kufuor had done so badly, fix it? Did anybody call you stupid?
No.
So why are you insulting the people who are saying that you should fix it?
We are not.
Tell you fix ourselves. George, if I change my character today, if I go under a bushel, because said that the same that the same will it take away the taxes? Huh? If I was a weed smoker and I stopped smoking weed, will it take away the fact that you people have gone and borrowed 182 billion cedis?
Wow.
Will it take it away? I change my character today, if I went back to the Presbyterian church, I went to sit in a church, will the lives of my children get any better? Is it my character? Is it Kwesi Pratt's character? That you people say one thing with one hand and do something else? Is it Kwesi Pratt's character that has made you come and sit here this morning and spew a ton of untruths and inaccuracies? Tell us you have removed 17 taxes when you know it's not true. It's not true.
Removed and reduced. True.
Is it Sena's character that has caused you people to take to add $800 million fictitiously to the American Innovation deal that ended up in Bache Jaku losing his job? Is it Sena's character? Is it my character that has made you people take our most prized assets, electricity corporation, and distribute it to your friends and your family? Is it my character?
Please, you have to wrap up for me.
Senna, let me talk.
Yes,
I'm free. Is it Nana Yaha's character that has allowed you people to go and engage in all kinds of unnecessary borrowing? That today we borrow $5 billion and 3.5 is simply used for servicing debt. Just servicing debt. And government freely admits that 91% of our projected earnings is going to be used to service debt and pay emoluments. We have not even started talking about the debt, actual debt you owe. Whose character is it? But let me tell you what's going to happen. Maybe finally. Maybe finally. The chickens will come home to roost.
Exactly 20 minutes past 7 here in the studios of Radio Gold 90.5 FM. Thanks for making time and sticking and staying with us. It's a Go Power Drive. I welcome you especially to the show. Today is a Tuesday. 2 days already into the week. How's it going for you? Let's start by saying a good morning to Mr. Eric Yao and Jose Agbomabiase. And interestingly, Sammy Davis. Good morning to you. A good morning to David in Hanover, Germany, and our good friend Livingstone in Ghana, and a good morning to AK the Kwasha and Mr. Frangoka. Well, my name is Senna Nombo. Let me just do something quickly before I take any further steps. And WhatsApp news reported yesterday, and their report is Rasta trumps Achimota School. And it says, as court orders, admission of Rastafarian students rejected for dreadlocks. So let me read it. The headline is Rasta trumps Achimota School as court orders admission of Rastafarian students rejected for dreadlocks. And it says the Human Rights Division of the High Court in Accra has ordered the Achimota School to admit the 2 Rastafarian students it denied admission on account of their dreadlock hairstyles. In its final judgment, the court, presided over by Justice Gifty Ejiado, ruled that the fundamental human rights of the 2 students cannot be limited by the academic rules of the school, and therefore Masters Tyrone Aras Magai and Ohinimba Kweku Nkrabia should be admitted with their hairstyles. In March this year, Achimota School issued admission letters to the 2 students but refused them enrollment when they turned up with dreadlocks grown on grounds of their Rastafarian religion. The school then preconditioned the admission on them cutting their beloved dreadlocks, a sacrifice the Rastafarian said was unacceptable. The Ghana Education Service had ordered the headmistress of the school, Mrs. Joyce Rodalingado, to admit the students, but she blatantly rejected the GES order. The GES eventually chickened out and toed the line of the headmistress, ordering the students to abide by the dictates of Miss Rodalingado. Master Magai and Master Nkrabia therefore sued the school's board of governance, the Minister of Education, Ghana Education Service, and Attorney General to enforce their fundamental human rights. They asked the court to, quote, declare that the failure and or refusal of the first respondent as the Achimota School Board of Governors to admit or enroll the applicant based on his Rastafarian religious inclination, beliefs, and culture characterized by his keeping of Rasta is a violation of his fundamental human rights and freedoms guaranteed under the 1992 Constitution, particularly Articles 12.1, 23, 21.1b, and c. Also, they asked for quote, an order directed at the Achimota School to immediately admit or enroll the applicant to continue with his education unhindered. The application also sought compensation for the quote inconvenience, embarrassment, waste of time, and violation of his fundamental human rights and freedoms. End quote. After the final judgment on Monday, there was jubilation on the court premises, but typical of the way of Rastafarian, the jubilation was simple and short. Meanwhile, policy think tank Alliance for Social Equity and Public Accountability has called for the dismissal of the headmistress for her strong infringements of the rights of the students. We are trying to get their lawyer, George Tetewayo, to speak to this morning on this particular issue. There's one other issue that is drawing some attention, and that's a report also on the front page of the WhatsApp news. And it says video emerges of national security or armed robbers raiding Chinese casino. And it says the Medros DSP Samuel Kojo Azugu of the illegal SWAT army at the National Security Secretariat has been captured by CCTV cameras on how they raided a Chinese casino like a band of armed robbers. The gangsters-looking team accompanying Azugu on May 7, 2021 were dressed in sagging trousers and hoodies and looked nothing like security officers on a raid on a suspected den of suspected Chinese gold dealers and money launderers. They broke into the Chinding Casino attached to the Petroland fuel station in the Sekengwa township of the Western region. Video seen by WhatsApp News show Azugu's men wielding AK-47 assault rifles jump out of national security vehicles and proceeded to order workers in the casino and an attached guest house to lay on their faces, similar to a typically armed raid by bank robbers. Eyewitnesses tell how the suspicious-looking men accompany Azugu first ensured to destroy all CCTV cameras in sight and cutting power to the facilities from the main switches. Unknown to them, other hidden cameras in the facility captured their every questionable move. According to information gathered by WhatsApp News to cover their suspicious raid, the gang of Azugu boys brutally assaulted Peter Teberi, a journalist from Accra-based Pen TV, who had caught wind of the violent raid. The rowdy gang of men claiming to be from National Security has confronted Tabiri, who was snooping around for details of the raid, but was pounced on, brutalized, and his mobile telephone snatched away from him, preventing him from completing a call he had placed to the Menfi Divisional Police Commander. Tabiri will later narrate his ordeal that when he identified himself as a journalist to one of the rowdy gang accompanying Azugu, he was brushed aside and was only curtly told, quote, "We are from National Security," end quote. I watched as security officers ransacked the facility, breaking everything, including money boxes, and taking out the money in them. But then some of them destroying the CCTV cameras installed at the place, and then raised my suspicion that the exercise could be unauthorized, end quote, Tabiri said. The Media Foundation for West Africa condemned the brutal assault on Tabiri and called for an immediate investigation into the issue. However, a few days later, Azugu and his usual gang, who ambushed Caleb Kuda, a journalist from CTFM, who has surreptitiously gone to the National Security Secretariat to film flashcards abandoned by agencies of government at the premises of the National Security. When Mr. Kuda was picked up, Azugu and his boys took turns to torture and brutalize the journalist. So that's a story. It's a story about a raid on a Chinese casino. It's unclear who sanctioned that raid, but WhatsApp News is reporting that it was led by DSP Azugu himself. The champion himself was the one who led that raid. Let me just say a good morning to Amina Ismail, who's joining us all the way from Kaswa. Good morning to you. A good morning to Alexander Hini, all the way from Kata Masaid. Good morning to you too. Patience Amenyo, same to you. Good morning. Georgina Tamekulu says, the Gold Crew, all your viewers and listeners, God has been faithful to us and given us a new month. May He hold our hands and lead us to cross the bridge of June successfully. Amen. Zion Churchman Adolfo is also saying a good morning. Good morning, Zion. Deladem, good morning. Nice to see you. New day, new month, new mercies, new strength for the journey ahead, and much gratitude for how far the Almighty has brought us. Amen. In all things, we give you thanks and praises. Glory be to the holy name. Ibrahim Tanko says a good morning to us, all the way from Elephants and Castle. Mohammed Sani Akime is also joining us, saying a good morning to us. Haj Suraj Mohammed is also saying a good morning. Jah bless. Good morning to you. Good morning to Joseph Lenugo. Says, I want to believe that Nanado and his team do not have the capacity and ability to rule Ghana. There's confusion and incompetence everywhere. Senna, if Nanado holds a doctorate degree today, then extend my sincere greetings to Professor John Dramani Mahama. Interesting. Lengi Chawinati says a good morning. Dr. Kwame Nkrumah built 2 universities. Rawlings, Mills, and Mahama have tertiary institutions to their credit, but surprisingly, they were not honored. But certainly, those who contributed absolutely nothing to our education were honored with a doctorate with flamboyance. This goes to tell you that either the chancellors do not know what they are about or see nothing wrong with those nose-diving education. Why wouldn't we have a group called Graduate Unemployment Association? These chancellors must bow their heads in shame. There's only one chancellor for universities. There's a governing board. I'm not sure the chancellor has such an influence. The governing board is the one who has such an influence. Bernardo B. Morrison says, Gold Power, you are the one. Nana Frainchu is joining us from the land of ice and fire, Iceland. Reykjavik, good morning to you, Nana. A good morning to Michael Ajaho. And a good morning to my very good friend, Willie Kwa's name is in my head. But William Kessie is the one I want to say hi to. But a good morning to Willie Kwa in Lagenhagen. Good morning to William Kessie. Henry Addison is joining us from Berlin. The suppression of Ghanaians simply untenable. Alasan Sile, good morning. Lengi Chawinati again says, if we the citizens fail to hold this Nanado's government accountable to all loans collected on our behalf with nothing to show, then this vicious cycle would never end. The president should be prosecuted after his tenure. In the Western world, leaders are not above the law. That's why without natural resources, they can give out money to African countries endowed with natural resources. Our leaders need to be creative in their thinking. Kakali Kamklenam, good morning to you, Kakali. Dindiogo Sia, wonderful to see you. Lengi Chawinate, it seems the chickens have come home to roost. Is that the reason I'm not hearing much from these corrupt ministers of this incompetent government? Nuruddin is joining us. Senna, please, what is happening to our party, NDC? Remember, NDC member suspend NDC. Remember, Okay. I think you have to. Nuruddin, please look at it again. It's difficult for me to read the message. But you join us from Canada. I'm trying to. Henry Addison says this ruling will bring dire consequences. And says, Lengi Chawanati wants Henry to explain. Let me say a good morning to Mr. Patrick Kubesika. Good morning. He's always insisted, because he has taught at that level. He's always insisted that the decision of a school must stand for the sake of discipline, order, and conformity. Uniformity. He's always insisted that that decision must hold. Now, remember, the court was not interested in uniformity, conformity, or whatever. The court's interest is in whether or not the child had the right to go to school wearing dreadlocks. Simple, straightforward matter. It's a human rights court. They will uphold the human rights over whatever else your concerns are. Well, so that is coming from them. Let me say good morning to Philip Adikau. Says good morning. The struggle continues. Guys, we shall overcome one day. No position is permanent. I'm still with you. I want to find a story that WhatsApp News reported on our death now. Coming from Daughters of Glorious Jesus, featuring Emoji. They call this one Odor Benny. Mr. Nicholas Laguda is enjoying the music. And a good morning to my good brother Fenny. Good morning to you. A very, very good morning to you. Yankosia Bediako is joining us saying peace, safety, and security of all lives and properties shall reign again under GM 2024. President Kufuor was overhyped as believer of rule of law and human rights activist. Today, he endorsed extrajudicial actions because the very democracy that brought him to power has been badly destroyed by himself and his insensitive government. Tony Amankwa says, Rastaman liver, natty dread, don't give up. I was having dreadlocks before during my music career. Tony, good morning to you. Wonderful to hear from you. Selda Glad is saying a good morning to us and join us, wishing you a blissful day. If this Azogu man is not dealt with by the next NDC administration, I'll advise myself, and I know other Ghanaians will do same. This Azogu is a candidate for jail. But it's a brand new month. It's a month of June. A lot of people have made promises to me this month, especially on Alaji and Alaji. A good morning to Madam Joyce Bawa Mokhtari. Very, very good morning. From the office of the former President John Dramani Mahama. One person who always stand up from the office on Alaji and Alaji. And I appreciate that. Nowadays, it's Phyllis Kwachofo, so highly appreciated. Good morning to everybody at the office of the former president. And good morning to all the wonderful people at the office of Professor Jenana Opoku-Agyeman, the 2020 running mate for the National Democratic Congress. A very good morning to all of you. A good morning to Prof. Very, very good morning to you. Fuseni Isifu. Fuseni says a good morning to us. Osman Lachi, good morning to you. Lengi Chawenati, this unscrupulous gang in the national security will soon metamorphose into something different. We'll forever hate to see. Visit all countries that have experienced war and you will understand. And that is coming from Lengi Chawenati. A very, very good morning to you, Lengi. It's always wonderful to see you. A good morning to His Royal Highness Dondo. Good morning to you. Good morning to Samuel Ivan Sota. who would always accuse me of not allowing people to speak your mind. Samuel, good morning to you. I will do something shortly. This year, this month is a new month. And what I can pray for you is that the God that ensures that nothing, in fact, he said he'll send his angels up to hold you up so your feet does not hit a stone, that God takes care of you, that God protects you and guides you through this month. That what he terms success, what he determines to be success, is only what you shall experience in your life. That no man, nothing, no matter where they are coming from, will prevent you from where you are going, if that is where God has purpose for you. That's all I can pray for you this morning. And a good morning to you. Always wonderful to know you are doing the listening. A good morning.
Abwa anoma na yenyanya electric poles wasasi so. Listen, me mama explanation to the song. Say kasa nyame yenyansabu akwa. Classical example. Emra obo bed. Abwa anoma na yenyanya electric poles wasasi so. But nyame ni musa abwa anoma be jina electric poles so. And now insulate the feet of the bed so that the bed will stand on the pole and will not be electrocuted. Listen, God has armored you with every equipment you need. Nothing on earth takes you by surprise.
I can only offer you what I have. And sometimes, in the midst of certain things, what I can offer is prayer. What I can offer is what I believe is the most powerful tool in my life. I am not forcing faith on you, but that is what I believe in.
Thank you, God, for these promises.
So I can say a prayer for you,
that you will never leave us.
and that is what I can do
You will never forsake.
for the month of June. To please you under the guidance of the God that I believe in, that I have faith in. Senanumbo is my name. My crew is almost set. Producer is Eric Boating. Ransad Kwesi Boachi is my co-host, who only knows his co-host when he's dedicating the show to Chelsea. That's what they seated, dressed in a summer shirt. Nancy is beautifully adorned in a wonderful dress.
Tonight, it is okay to walk
And then Godwin
doors
is in charge of social media. Hey, you can't even take compliments.
that
You have to fight everything.
doors with a
Good morning to Nancy.
I will take it. It is okay to walk through these doors depressed. I will take it.
We are waiting to be joined by the Esquire himself,
For you to-
Henry George Martinson.
With that, if we say, oh yeah, yeah.
Let me say good morning to Zachariah Freedom, who says a good morning to us from Chebi Jochi Williams. Good morning. Prince J. Carlos says a good morning to my beautiful golden people.
Work a miracle tonight. And you bring Jesus Jesus.
Prince J. Carlos join us from Germany. Good morning, good morning, and good morning to you. Good morning to Paloya, who is also joining us, saying a good morning to us. Lydia Kam says a happy new month. Same to you. Kwesi says greetings from Kumasi. Is it April? Tell Nanado Rose are still in a bad state. Hey, you people, they said your Kumasi Aquina FFF. Nanabi said that. You people didn't protest that too. You didn't go on demonstration. You didn't shout. You didn't say anything. They said more coin FFF. They said that. Me, I don't live in Kumasi. So when they said your Wakwan FFF, he didn't say anything. So we all believe that Wakwan FFF. Since anyway, that's the stronghold of the New Patriotic Party. There has been very wonderful work at the Rose Minister's constituency and the president's hometown and everything. We thought that you people would be next. So it's Wakwan FFF. So we're all thinking that was what happens. Dejan Mohammed says a good morning to us. Nana Kwame says, I wish today is 7 December 2024. I'd like to say, extend very well wishes to every one of you who is born in June. Some of the most wonderful people are born in June, July, August. I'm not saying that the rest of us, because I'm born in December, I'm not saying that we are not wonderful. I say some of the most wonderful people I know, June, July, August, May. I'm going to find trouble for myself. Let me leave it. Nana Kwame says, okay, Kakalik Elikam Klenam says this DSP Azugu is not fit to be a police officer to the extent of DSP. It's a shame. This DSP doesn't understand the meaning of policing. Kakali again, no comments for now, waiting for the outcome of the government investigations. Godwin says, good morning. You are doing a great work. Sana, God bless you. Radio Gold will surely come live. Amen. Pablo Silvana says a good morning to us. Rotana Tukbe says, when the gods want to destroy you, first they make you mad. Christina is joining us saying a good morning. Mama Christy, I hope you're well. A good morning to Grandma Abena. A very, very good morning to Madam Eugenia Lai Saki, Mabi, Madam Esther Mofa, to our very good friends in Sakumono. A good morning to Mr. Tete. A good morning to Mabi. A good morning to Auntie Vero. Good morning to all of you. Kakali Kamklenam says, Amen, Sena, your prayers, because I'm a June born. Oh, wonderful. Natana Boja, thank you. Thank you. Bless you too. Sulianas, good morning to you. Always wonderful to see you, Suli. Godwin says, Chelsea no size. Ramat Rama says, Sena, good morning to you. Good morning to you, Rama. Ramat Rama, wonderful to see you. Good morning to Delao Foria. Sorry. Good morning to Peggy. Good morning to you, ma'am. Good morning to Doc. Yes, Doc. A very, very good morning. And good morning to Auntie Maggie. A very own. Albert Kojo Collector Heno says, Sana and your team, happy new month. May God continue to grant us our heartfelt desires. Nino, take greetings from Israel to you all in the studio. Wishing you all the best. Good morning. Good morning to Togo One. Samuel Tetaite says, good morning to my gold family, listening to you live from Qatar with my comrade Nene Ballard. So a good morning to Nene Ballard. A good, very, very good morning to you. A good morning to Quaffless. I haven't heard that name in a while. Chris Kujoji and to Kojovia Kon. Let me read the story. I just wanted to read to you. Ghana's debt balloons to 304.6. Ghana's debt is now 304.6 billion cedis. And this is what the story is. WhatsApp News reported it on the 30th of May. And it says the national debt spiraled by 3 billion cedis to hit 304.6 billion in March 2021. This is according to the latest financial data from the Bank of Ghana. Strangely, however, the Bank of Ghana is reporting that despite the increase in debt, the country's debt to GDP ratio dropped to 70.2% from 76.1%. that the government had claimed was the case in 2020. There has not been any explanation for the illogical correlation between the increasing debt and supposedly shrinking debt to GDP ratio. particularly when the World Bank and the IMF exposed the Finance Ministry and the BOG covering up the actual debt to GDP of 78% instead of the 76.1% being quoted. The international community and rating agencies are also estimating that the country's debt to GDP will hit some 80% by the close of 2021. However, the debt had shrunk to 70.2% amidst the government's own expression of hopelessness at the balance and at the ballooning debt has become a mystery. How the debt had shrunk to 70.2% amidst the government's own expression of hopelessness at the ballooning debt has become a mystery. Last week, President Akufo-Addo was in Europe begging the Paris Club to forgive Ghana's debt. The Akufo-Addo government, through the same strange mathematics, managed to leave out energy sector debts from a country's debt and therefore managed to artificially bring the debt to GDP ratio down to 76.1% instead of 78%. Now, the country's debt has spiraled by 3 billion. Proper accounting is likely to escalate the debt to GDP ratio to something more than 78% that the IMF has listed. Meanwhile, according to the BOG, the 3 billion euro bond raised by the country in March this year accounted for this jump in the debt. As of last year, the country's debt stood at 291.6 billion between December 2020 and March 2021. A whopping 13 billion cedis was added to the country's debt. The domestic debt increased to 163.6 billion cedis at the end of the first quarter of 2021, compared to 149.8 billion cedis in December 2020. This is equivalent to 37.3% of GDP. The external debt stood at 141 billion cedis, that's $24.6 billion in March 2021, as against 141.8 billion cedis, that's $24.6 billion. This is approximately 37.7% of GDP. But the financial sector debt went down by 100 million cedis to 15.2 billion. It is equivalent to 3.5% of GDP. So that's the story of our debt now. Ironically, the Bank of Ghana is reporting that our debt to GDP ratio is 70.2%, has reduced. Remember, it was only recently that the IMF told us that our debt to GDP ratio should be higher, that 76.1%. The Bank of Ghana is now telling us it's even lower. The IMF says it was 78% if you add the energy sector debt. But the Bank of Ghana is now reporting that somehow our debt has reduced. Our debt has gone down significantly, even though our debt to GDP ratio had gone down significantly to 70.2%, even though our debt has increased from 291.6 billion to now you are looking at 304.6 billion. 304.6 billion cedis. So from 291.6 billion cedis to 304.6 billion cedis. Yet the debt to GDP ratio is now 70.2%, when it was 76 or 78%, depending on who is talking, the IMF or the government. As at the time when the debt was 91.6 billion. So somehow the thing has increased, yet the percentage to GDP has shrunk. I don't know what has happened. Maybe our GDP has gone up. Interestingly, remember that we haven't grown significantly because of everything COVID. That we have not, the economy didn't do so well in 2020. We didn't do so well in 2020. Somewhat Etaite says, good morning, my gold family, listening to you live from Qatar. Okay, I think I've gone through that. Abdul Rahman, Idris Didat, good morning to you. Hope the gold team is doing well. We are all well. Amin Osman says, Sat, Sena, you are seeking problem for yourself. How could you say such an abominable thing without me bashing you? How can wonderful people be born without being born in October? I know you come. Abdul Rahman, good morning. That's why I gave up and I have withdrawn. I hope Wood has not heard, and the rest of the people have not heard. Araka, Aiku says the good God will bring back Radio Gold. Ofre Kuma says good morning. Please share this with Dr. Ekofuado and UCC. This is how the UK is funding extra time for pupils to catch up. Not that the Dumsor educational timetable. 30 minutes under proposal as part of £15 billion. Is it? Did you say 30 minutes? And a proposal as part of £15 billion COVID rescue plan to help kids catch up. The school day is set to be extended for half an hour under a proposed plan to help kids catch up with classes missed as a result of the COVID lockdowns. Under the proposal, teachers will be told they must keep pupils for an extra 2.5 hours a week as part of a £50 billion COVID rescue plan, it is reported. So the UK government is spending £15 billion to try to help students catch up with the time that they spend outside the classrooms as part of COVID. The UK government is ensuring that students spend more time in school because they realize that students have lost a lot of time during the lockdowns as part of COVID. So they are spending £15 billion. First of all, we don't have £15 billion, obviously. Secondly, if we will do something, we will reduce the contact hours because teachers will ask for more. You might look at the erratic timetable at the senior high schools. Go and ask the teachers who teach there whether their salaries have been increased. Nothing has been done. So what you are proposing there is good for you. Those of you in the UK, thank God, you people are the glass and Kwan people. So the glass and Kwan people can do their glass and Kwan matter. Those of us who are in concrete and Kwan can do our concrete and Kwan matter. So wonderful idea from you, but that is your issue. Good morning to you. That's Alfred Kuma. Alfred, thank you very much for sharing, though. That's interesting to hear. Very wonderful idea. Niai says a good morning. Also join us from the UK. Says a good morning, Go family. If you govern with lies and deception, the real figures from the IMF will expose you. Have a blessed day. Good morning to Kwesi in the UK. And for Kwesi, so there are two people. Kwesi in the UK, Chamanakwa, and for Kwesi, who is my good friend from the North Tongue, the other part of Tongue. Albert Kojo Kolete says a good morning. Nana French says, please don't waste your energy on Ashanti Region Roads. They've not seen anything. Let them enjoy what their terms offered all Ghanaians. Interesting. It's interesting, but no, the rules that we saw, that's why I'm saying that, you see. They said that Muros are FFF, Kumasia Kwan FFF. That's the first time I recall it perfectly. So I can say it. Kumasia Kwan FFF. Nanabi said it. You people did not demonstrate that Nanabi was lying. He did not shout. Instead, he voted massively for the MPP. Mwa Kwan FFF. So I don't know. I'm not saying don't vote for the MPP. That is your choice. But I'm saying that at least if the same MPP, youth organizer, no mean person than a youth organizer of the New Patriotic Party, goes to say, please, at least do something to tell us that you are lying. So that if government is not fixing your rules, we will know what to tell them. And the people said the rules are not good. We haven't heard anything. And I'm sure you people were shouting when he was saying it and applauding him. So, what am I supposed to believe? I don't travel much. My only road is to the Volta region or stay in Accra. Boachi,
Numbo,
good morning.
good morning.
I hope you're well.
Nyamia Dom Divine Selection.
And God is kind to you.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
So also here there.
By the grace of God, I'm fine.
Yeah, the Nyamia
Fine. Wonderful to see you.
Yeah, wonderful to see you too.
Yeah.
A brand new month.
Yes, June.
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 See, the last month, our first half of this year.
Yes.
And the Emoni Yadri. June. Eric Boating. Oh, June Bonana. 21st June. Wow. Sitobrim ni o. And I call you Bonzo Cheche. Young chatty for nano pay. Who's then run? I mean, shut down fellow well, sir. But I know pay Manuma Druba Midi. As a move. You are my Soriaco.
So you haven't
Oh,
You have taken drugs without eating.
But I don't know two things. Some manumusu. One, I don't know. It's either Uber no man's hand or the dia now the dia one. It's all a juma. Oh, okay. And then 30 minutes time, and so I just say, if you see any intino, and no, I don't know. Then Yababa be juma.
Yeah.
And chat for no penaments and chair once again. Me chair me Chelsea supporters in me job na no pen. And I do ask me more you be more. But and you remember because then attacks are attacks because omra also ni jana no onya supporters. Emo bo ani nyina no amafo hu no. We are motie because na Nkrofo sen ka munya me na ankalis mo support him because to win a Champions League easy sir. It doesn't come by chance. The Manchester crowd last time or GB crowd no. Minya sure so pa Obekai Russia 2008 Achapa.
It was you who beat your team.
Yeah, I think amunya me na ka menye but nipa de ye proni enyawa. Not to akika.
Those kind of comments are the reason you were banned. When you come and you are talking about Champions League, say Manchester cry. The last time you won it. Now, you see, when those kind of comments are the reason we prevent you from going any further. If you were only here to celebrate without throwing unnecessary shades, nobody will come and talk about it.
Matthias, but say I'm saying there because unim baby.
And so when you do that, then everybody will fight you.
Say at the end say
you are outnumbered here.
No, alliance ne groups outdoor amount for forming against Chelsea na nya asem getwa. Unim say on Saturday, temo ayo hotel room ho no no. Me jesi no, RKB no. Unse mo up and down bisa. Ne chuma se udum de bae no. Me twa no na me de to ayi. Ti me ho na ma me no so pie room ho. E no no so onu so betwa. Na sa jesi we are no de besre me no. Eti no wa prepare grounds no for Numguasia dada. So now she was just waiting patiently for the match say you starting in so that she will come after me. I know, but unfortunately, say Nyankopon sa on the deck and so now on person the deck and Numguasia. And as you can see, may you were from and as you Mate Mura Edimidase. And also no. Zena for Dr. Pounds to a moment. And a number of issues we receive, but and Chelsea the energy fire and to the for Dr. Pounds to a moment. Na we are vice president now. Not to a moment. Now, friends, when you share Omumi and Jumadi Omudi, I always say on this show, say, maintain President Akufo-Addo, maintain the money per year, and Nemuno, or management here, and as media house. And as media personnel, it is within your friend is saying to make sure say government in, government out, every hold them accountable. At the time as soon as I said you scrutinize in another Danko Akufo-Addo and then a Juma all year. But Senator Numbo, me start with the vice president. Senator, I don't know. Say Obini Foundation send 500 buy a cast here they call Nancy Foundation more than some no. Say foundation means all of Yabra. Emma Rems almost honest can go di ye de call her no. Na the attendant say Obini personal foundation, Obi your donation and ye masemsa. But the Senate number no ye here we answer any fata. We need a Obini private foundation. So then I just say me call donation the two more. Sebio nipano ade also de kwakoye no or the nyina abaye because a individual foundation. Me no me I'm not against Obini foundation what, but for a vice president say or kwako donate 3 billion e di ama Obini Foundation simply because Opesu Odi a president after Akufo-Addo. It no favor e the free central fund ho. Intinanie kesiye pa wum the foundation onfa 3 billion ɛmfa nkɔnkɔ tum fama no sɛ de bɛyɛ a ɔbɛka na sɛm ama no de me I don't know but ni nyina no the akwan anama wɔto no meaning sɛ ɔpɛ favor bi afiri baabi but sɛ na no mu okɔ northern region a yɛwɔ communities within the vice president no ɛyɛ ne constituency a sɛ na ebinom kora nya nsuo no mu menka asɛm ɔnkɔyɛ donation deɛ but yɛyɛ ne hia wiasa yɛ ne fata sɛ wotimi tam 3 billion ɛde command Centroni Foundation because who pursue the president enti no per favor from those media guys in Kabana ho because 3 billion their command ebe den say unyuma kra no akwa no be criticize o but yet kromo a na wo promise eye wa nkrofo say oba no ba be si eye ye fa ne sen hostel at the amom as vice president. What has been your contribution so far? 5 good years in here. And nema promise here and onamo udamu anu obo ro se me besra o computer bi na say ya no aba fix it or say digital me do to internet so and nema hu here economically so otimi hwebo na solve problems no man we nya na dwen so obeye meanwhile operation break the 8 and hu adwuma na all set up and nema otuatu ntokro baby we no a way of man bribing way. I am not against Obini Foundation na oye ne donation ya kotum but time no ne niema ekoso now no e kire me say who pay favor be all those guys no ho to back your campaign sa operation break the 8 no so as vice president Ghana your economy enye your debt to GDP ratio basa but o kire yen say won why you Bank of Ghana da edwa wonu ma Ghana fo nya ayi ema the whole president ka kire wo say Ghana for nyina say ewiase nyansa nyina show tiri meaning say ono president no eba no governors ana ewiase amamu na ohunu so eti ono nkura nyansa na nyame dia ma nso fa mebu ade no nyankopon de aka wo de ho na say wanya bi papa ama onkrofo anya antimi anya yi a ene obi private business oye I'm not against me metimi at foundation obetimi de sika ba de but time no anya time aso ono no president edi eti media guys no start here sena no mu o tuatu na ton kakra meanwhile sa 3 billion and come akwa no o wa buy buy in terms of in health infrastructure mo record e den it is otiminya 3 billion er come obi say onfanto incubator sena no mu nkan incubators kura de enkanya individual bi na so sorry to ye di yen taxpayers money amam ye resources shemonsa and can say lacking incubators e wo yen hospitals in bimpo and anga pese me kwesi bo achi afato mo se me na se me to incubator ye wo ada ayi a metimi ate foundation di misika ye but enyema nkitinkiti bi wono mo a eye government responsibility etena wonya sika atam 3 billion e de akoso obinye se wo this kind be ko anas won fanko no eno na kwa e bo achi bidin it is our operation break the 8 no and media favor and I was start here or yes no enti vice president Bawumia ya kasi scrutinize wa here ebeka opieto because enyema okan ye no enya no na wudi so awoye yes you need wachi pa now to the president senanumbo
I just want to add something to what you hey greet me.
No, you come and demand it.
I just want to add something to what Kwesi was saying about what Bawumia has gone to do, the donation and all that, before he continues with his Dr. Pounds. You see, Sena, it is not a matter of our economy is not in good standing. It is not about break the 8, but what is right must be done. Okay, Bawumia is in leadership position. We have given him the power to do what is right by all of us, right? So me, Nancy, as I am sitting here, I don't have the means to go and say that Kolebue take 30,000 Ghana cedis and solve this one. But we have given you the power to use our money to do those on our behalf. Okay. Go to Kolebu. Go to Kolebu. Go to the one behind us here. That is where, which one? Mamprobi Polyclinic. Go to Kaneshi Polyclinic. Kolebu Polyclinic. and see the state of our health facilities. Then you get up, you leave all these public institutions and say you are going to donate to what is the duty of the private sector? Those business people in this country, what are they supposed to do? So as a government, leadership of this country, they are supposed to fix our public sector for us, so that the majority of us who cannot have access to private facilities, when we go to these public places, would have the same facilities as those in the private hospitals are getting. Okay, so Bawumia should concentrate on the public health sector. That is how I feel about this whole thing. That why would you leave Kolebu? Why would you leave Konfanoche? Why would you leave Mamprobi Polyclinic and say you are going to donate to what?
First of all, give me some clarity.
The money Bawumia is taking there. Whose money is it? Is it his private? Who doesn't
I have no
understand?
background to that.
Whose private?
He has
Is
got
the
to
money?
300,000 Ghana cedis to somebody's.
No, please. If you're talking about, if you're doing something, be clear. There's no need to avoid any name. The vice president has made a donation to what?
Kokroku, whatever.
Something
The
foundation.
one they used to buy incubators.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that 30,000,
300, is it 30,000?
300,000.
30,000.
Is it
300,000
Bawumia's personal money?
Okay.
Okay.
Is it
so
taken from Bawumia's personal funds?
yes. You see, so I'm saying that it is not about how he's not performing as a vice president or not, but we as Ghanaians have given a mandate to fix our public health facilities for us. What is he doing about it? And leaving that to go and now turn attention to somebody's private venture. Do you get it?
Because
That is-
if he was doing his job, the person would not have had to buy incubators.
Thank you very much. That is where I am
that is-
coming from. That is where I am coming from. So I mean, I saw the story and the whole thing doesn't make sense to me. Leave Sefakai Foundation or Sakokroko Foundation. Let the NTNs, let the Vodafones, let whatever, Jata Cements, let the Dangote, mining community, your friend Omusenka, go fields, and a to donate to. As a vice president, your attention should go to the public sector. Our hospitals. Have you seen the story from the Obom Dwamiabra MP? That was an MP. Have you seen the story on what she faced at the hospital with a bodyguard, a policeman for that matter, at what we call police hospital? She'll tell you how our health facilities, public health facilities, are deteriorating. Then you go and carry money, our money, Ghana money, and say that you are donating to. So if I am going, continue.
Senior Nancy Ekano, you are the vice president. We've given you access, the opportunity to use our money. Yeah, do DSika free, DD free, glass and qua, DD free. Sananumbo and ma common water, and I'm within the own backyard. Says Nancy Grad on Wababa spread here within the own backyard. I'm not for enum so with Sebi Emoa. I'm not for num and so sabit with in a view. Common water and sewer and Krahampo unfortunate papa on Sananumbo. And no, and Uncle and no, and north. Some part, the constituency become an original film. It because of say, Upe favor, I was the fuck kind and sack and Crofona and Mintino, and Operation Baby 8. Now, to one of our foundation. Vice President, I donated 3 billion the Amawa. Or Ebony Abeka. 3 billion, no, and not 30,000. No. 3 billion. Abronje 3 billion. Oba kanasem. Oba da kanasem.
No, but it's quite interesting. I think Nancy has it doesn't add up.
What has
Nancy
it?
has a strong point. It doesn't add up.
Yeah. A private institution. a private institution and yes sasa wo ye no wonye e no atede bu aw so why then do you also offer sika omani sika e omani sika because ye ne atua nka what for omani sika e de akwa komo private so no nye nkonkon ye na oto wo ye ne what are you doing? What is your use as vice president? Ajuma sasa wo ye no onye and an individual institution so de ye it is Ghana wo ye no it can kubeta 2 and 3 na beso a fato na ko but for you to say what time check kakade ma ayi Gideon Boako so won fanko na mo kwaje anuonyam because operation break 8 and I will pay me nyame de but ye nyina ti kromo a ye be hunu ni besi in terms of sa ahini 2024 now open me nyame de because operation di president and last time me kai say o ka kire me say John Mahama 10 in 2 man me do so a ye ben say Bawumia no so o free chebi we will get there. Dr. Pons say na you see Ghana na yet no I don't know say ye mpanifo no na sabi you excuse my language omo dwena ensisi so and I see we the youth no and ya tena hon ma ya hwe han sabi the oldies na omo abaji to me no omo nya ne omo pe say na enra meti wonom ena me say Isaiah play ya sem be si mitirim ma dwene ho ensisi so sana ma dwene ho ensisi so say omompani beti me ko one trip atam Ghana sika 28 billion sana one triple 28 billion old cities say or the kwakwa high plane keke sana no mo ade no obedim ama babia omukoda ama ena pedam squad omdo omko pedam so ama when you quiet yes you feel bibi say landing whatever yes you pack you play baby otuaka landing is it landing fee or whatever fee et landing no aso de mai etu be landing na si at wonum now the feeding fee account now the hotel expenses account now the per diem account niama mako 9 aside 28 billion say no mo we are in a COVID era
28 billion.
Yes.
2.8 million.
2.8 million Ghana cedis. 28 billion all cedis. Can I say, I mean, I will is Ghana person bono. What can billion now? A bit to too much.
To fly from
yes.
Ghana to France to South Africa.
81 hours. Omampani tina. Omampani etina. Play one currency and send no more. Omampani tina no more. You get 1.2 billion on shit back. Sana. Play na mapani akoye no don hwiri ba ku bia muti o mema me papa no mutie don hwiri ba ku bia obro no friend one na no ye di no 1.2 billion but what catch Ghana for see ni sika ana odi taxes mako enwotwe e de betu yekom si entua she luxurious life I will live seriously she luxurious life I will live as president. Oh, sikani ho and why etimomwa COVID number yenya na say ekum why coronavirus sikana mkoje no where is the money?
Watch it. I'll come back to you shortly. Let me just do something quickly. I've been drawn on the line by a lawyer. If I recall correctly, the last time was Ghana Maniti the Wayo.
The grass Wayo.
Yeah.
Or guy papa.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning to your cherished listeners and the brothers in the studio.
Yeah, but I hope you're well.
I'm doing well, my brother.
Yeah, I can hear from your voice the mood and everything about what has happened subsequently.
The euphoria is very high.
Yeah. First of all, I understand that at some point in time, journalists were asked to leave the courtroom before the judgment was given. So a lot of people do not have the exact judgment that was given, the extent to which the judge went and the kind of pronouncements he made on the matter. Give us an idea exactly what the judge said and what his her reasons were.
I mean, the summation of what prevailed is that the couple of assertions and claims we made that were being violated, i.e., freedom to conscience, belief and religion, as in Article 21C, right to education, freedom against all forms of discrimination, and then right to dignity, Article 15 thereabout. These were the general assertions that we made, that the decision or desire of Achimota School to stampede the completion of enrollment by the students for them to join their colleagues to start their secondary education was not lawful and was violating all these assertions. And the court's view was that, yes, it is not in doubt that under Article 12.2, rights are not absolute. Rights are limited to the extent that there is some public interest to be protected, as well as for the enjoyment of the next person or another person's fundamental human rights. These are the key requirements that upon same you can try to limit any constitutionally or any statutory provision on the line of any discourse in respect of human rights, as in Chapter 5 of 1992 Constitution. And it came out that the compelling reason that the respondent, that is Achimota School, GS, AG, should put across to justify why they are limiting these rights were short. They fell short of the law, because if you want to limit the right to education, because you said you have a regulation that says children should not have bushy hair or any type of hair where the Rastafari youth's hair falls under, you are technically trying to limit his right to education as well. But what is the compelling reason why you are putting up this limitation? And if the reason is not for any public interest, if the reason is to protect the third or another person's rights that is supposed to be enjoyed with your presence in that community, then the court's mind is not weighed towards granting your opposition. So unless you ask further questions, I think there should be ground rules to open up if you want to have further.
Okay. So the court was of the opinion, simply put, that what the Achimota School was insisting on does not come under the limitations placed on enjoyment of those rights.
Exactly.
Okay. So having said that, I want to know what was going through your mind when that decision was being given. Were you always confident that you was going to get it? You were going to get that decision?
No, you see, from the one when we decided to embark on the decision to determine whether or not Achimota's rules was starkly in contravention with the constitutional provisions, as well as some provisions in the Children's Act 560. We were very confident from day one, because we knew that you can limit rights, like I said, under Article 12 and also in Article 14 thereabout, there's some kind of limitation. So the Constitution itself has placed limitations. The lawmakers knew that right is not absolute. But we were very convinced that the very rules they are using for such limitation has not justified why that limitation should come. So when they finally produced that regulation, you could see that the defense is to keep uniformity, and is to bring about discipline on campus, and then it's also to bring about hygiene. So the judge decided to put questions. So when they say uniformity, what do you mean? Then the judge said that, so are you making me to understand that uniformity means that if I come to Achimota School today, everybody should have the same haircut and all that? So all these were questions she was putting when we were moving the motion, and not yesterday, because it was the motion that advanced where the court must give the decision to. So during the moving of the motion, these questions came up. Does uniformity mean the same haircut, or like a group of boys in a certain camp or something? That Achimota School, as well as the Attorney General, couldn't really justify that reason of uniformity. The other one is discipline. And the question that came out is that, are you saying that if somebody is manifesting his religion through the clipping of his hair, which is not in dispute, that makes the person indisciplined. So when the person comes to the campus, the person will begin to be indisciplined. Does it mean create certain mayhem on campus? Was also not clear, because you cannot, in an abstract nature, or assume that somebody carrying their locks to come to school is indisciplined. Then the issue of hygiene, and the Attorney General lady who was moving the motion, when she was asked, okay, so when you say hygiene, that you need this rule that everybody should have a low cut. You need it because of hygiene. So when you say hygiene, what do you mean? And she attempted to indicate that, my lady, sometimes when children at this age, 17, 18, have bushy hair, the tendency of lice to be, then that time when the court was about to laugh, it was funny. Are you saying that because somebody carries dreadlocks, the person has lice in his hair and it's coming to affect somebody with lice or something? So the reasons they needed to advance to limit the right to manifest your religion by carrying your dreadlocks, the reasons to limit, and by extension limit the right to education, those reasons were not compelling enough. And until they were compelling enough, you cannot justify a ruling in your favor. So at the end of the day, what it is that the very reasons that this rule exists, upon which they want to limit the manifestation of the right, because the contention at one point they come across as not contending that you can manifest your religion. But Article 26 is clear that you can manifest, profess, and maintain your religion, culture, blah 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 blah. Now, how do we determine manifestation of a person's religion? Let's take the case of a Rastafarian. The Rastafarian manifests his religion by keeping the dreadlocks, which is a vow. And that vow is in Numbers chapter 6, verse 5. In Numbers chapter 6, verse 5, persons who want to take a vow to keep themselves for the Creator who created them shall have razor not touch their hair. It's not what we are saying. We're not conjecturing. We are not pulling it from a certain corner or a certain place that does not exist. It is a biblical provision. So it's law. It's a biblical law. That is why if you look in the Bible, direction of the Bible, Samson had the dreadlocks, Jeremiah, so many people, John the Baptist, had their locks. So how can a person who professes the Rastafarian religion be denied that right to manifest the religion? The manifestation, if he so wishes and takes the vow, is keeping the locks. So if in one way you said you are not fighting the person's right to religion, you're not fighting the manifestation of religion, but you are still saying you should cut his hair before he can come to the school. You are saying two things. You are appropriating and reprobating. The point is that the hair is a manifestation. So if you are insisting that it should be cut, you are attacking the manifestation of that religion. So this is the bone of contention. And at the end of the day, it came out clear that if the Rasta man manifests his religion, in fact, the quotation I've just given you, the biblical provision I've given you, the biblical law I've just given you, the judge quoted it in their ruling. So when the ruling comes out and it becomes public and people have a copy, you see the judge refer to Numbers 6:5 to justify that a Rasta man's insistence on the manifestation of his religion is not just abstract, but is backed by law. So if that is how a person manifests his religion, any attempt to stampede that will be denying and violating the manifestation of the religion. And upon that basis, you are denying him admission. So you are violating his right to education. So, in conclusion, the state, the Attorney General and Achimota were not able to come under Article 12.2, which is the right to limit. You're not able to come under it properly. Because you just don't just wake up and come under it. So this issue of discipline, uniformity, lies, they fell in the realm of conjecture and assumption. And in the case of Republic versus Tommy Thompson books, 1996, the court has laid that the court is not concerned with abstract metaphysics, but the application of law in respect of factual evidence. If you say you want to curtail somebody's manifestation of his religion in respect of his dreadlocks, and that is for the sake of discipline, you must prove it. Oh, some time ago, we had a similar situation. They were here. They came with their dreadlocks. They caused a whole lot of mess. This is the record. This is the evidence. You put that before the court, and the court will be informed that your argument that this person with the dreadlocks, when he or she comes here, is coming to be indisciplined, is clearly proven. But you have not proven it. You are conjecturing. You are assuming. In the realm of abstract metaphysics, the court will not be taking that line. The court will not. You will not lead the court to that slaughterhouse. The court will not go there until you substantiate your compelling reasons why you must limit fundamental human rights. You cannot be allowed to violate fundamental human rights. So these were the critical comments from her ruling.
Oh, okay. But there's a point where you're talking about the Attorney General against the school, because I wanted how you felt when the Attorney General stood up, the Attorney General's department stood up in defense of what the school was doing. Because at some point, I realized there was a statement from the GES actually saying, well, what we do not agree with what the school was doing. The Minister for Education also gave the impression that government was not particularly in support of what the school was doing. So how did you feel listening to all this and having the Attorney General's department then jump to the defense of the school?
Yes, you see, the rule is that when a public institution is sued, i.e. an institution like the GES, is the Attorney General who is the principal legal officer. So that's why the Attorney General comes in as a nominal defendant. And you're right. The initial decision by the GES, it was part of our affidavit in court attached to our application. The minister's view of re-echoing that the GES has not backtracked on any directive, and that directive stands, and even the ministry will, moving forward, order the GES to come up with guidelines that will handle these matters nationally in our schools. All these were attached to our application. But you see, the gimmick of the game was just to jump to the defense that Achimota has a regulation, and that regulations are very important for the smooth administration of a place like a school. The judge agreed that, yes, it's very important. Nobody disputes that. And even we, the applicants, never disputed that schools don't need regulation. The critical issues to be determined were meeting the standard of the law. Should these regulations supersede the GRUNOM? What is the GRUNOM? In jurisprudence, GRUNOM is the mother law, the big law. And in Ghana, our GRUNOM is the constitution. The GRUNOM is the law where other rules, laws, or statutes all trace their existence and potency. So if you are a regulation made somewhere and you are not potently secured under the ambit of the Constitution, that regulation seeks to be a proper law. That regulation is void, or that regulation is simply in conflict or inconsistent with some provisions of the Constitution or the Constitution itself, Article 1, 2. So the judge was clear that whatever rules and regulation they are applying should be consistent with the provisions of the Constitution. So if the Constitution provides the freedom of conscience, belief, religion, the Constitution in Article 21, the Constitution in Article 17 provides for no discrimination against any persons on the basis of religion, creed, race. The Constitution provides freedom of education. The Constitution provides all these things. Any regulation you have in Achimota shouldn't be seen directly or indirectly violating these constitutional provisions. Straight away, they have deviated from the GRUNOM, and no court will bless that. The only time a court will bless that is when you come on Article 12.2 and give a justifiable reason, which is very compelling, why you must limit these constitutional provisions. And that's what I've explained earlier, that they were not able to justify the reasons, and whatever reasons they put across was not compelling. Most of them, and in fact all of them, were in the realm of assumption and conjecture. And like I've said, the court will not consider any matters of abstract metaphysics. It must be factual evidence so that the application of the law will be upheld in line with such deliberations.
Let me paint you a picture before I ask you my very last question. One, you have a school that was defended by the Attorney General's department, which is a representative of government, sort of. You have a headmistress that is not that had taken an entrenched position, ignoring a directive from the Ghana Education Service, still at post. You have the NAGRAT National Association of Graduate Teachers, making statements that seem to suggest that they will not in any way, like they do not agree with even the decision of the court. Now, what happens to the judgment? Do you have a judgment? You have a judgment that is in your favor. Now, what does that mean? What will happen next? Are you heading to Achimota to demand that he be admitted? Are you also considering the fact that they may not be so kind to him whilst he's on campus, to them whilst they are on campus, among others? What will happen next? What is your advice to your clients?
Yeah, I mean, this is a good question. I mean, it came out right after this ruling came. I mean, the point is that it's a ruling by a court of law and not in the ordinary court, but the High Court. It's the Superior Court of the land. Not the Supreme Court, but it's the Superior Court of the land. The Superior Courts are the High Court, Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. So such a ruling must be obeyed. And we all know what happens to people who disobey rulings of court. People who obey rulings of court is simply that their conduct could be declared as contempt. And in this scenario, you are conducting yourself in a certain manner. You are doing certain things. And a court has blatantly come up to say that what you are doing is violation of some constitutional provisions. So there is an order to stop doing what you are doing, so that the person your conduct is mitigating against or hindering can take the necessary step that the person had to take before your conduct. If you still insist, then the other step of legal proceedings will step in, cite you for contempt, and that will be a different matter on its own. To the issue of if the kids will be received cordially on campus and all that, I mean, it's a human society. It was a matter of interpretation of the conduct based on rules you have vis-a-vis the rules of the land, the highest law of the land. And the court have seen that on the balance of probability. Don't forget, civil matters are determined on the balance of probability. So on the balance of probability and the preponderance of probability, your opposition does not fly in the face of the challenge, the allegations and the claims being made, and has made that determination. It should end the matter there. If you want to still insist on something like this, you must find a way to get a compelling reason why you have to limit fundamental human rights. You can still do that. But if it has to result in threats or antagonism, or now making the children feel unwelcome, and if any secondary or any subsequent conduct would want to present itself in that manner where now you want to behave in such a way that will not give the students that free will to enjoy the rights that they've been declared to do, that simply means that you fall short of Article 23 on administrative justice, where Article 23 simply indicates that public officers and public institutions, when they act, they must act fairly and in a candid manner, all holistically to achieve a fair democratic society. So as to what happens when these matters change up, then that means that there's a second level of conduct that will call upon to be interpreted again. We hope not to get to that point. We think that they should see it as a ruling that determines the potency of the regulation they so have vis-a-vis the laws of the land, the Children's Act, and then the Constitution. In fact, if you look at the Children's Act, Section 2, it's heading the welfare principle. Children's Act 560. The welfare principle, what it simply means is that in everything we do as a country, the court, whatever body, in interpreting something, it is the primary interest of the child that matters. In this whole brouhaha, or this whole scenario, what is the primary interest here? The primary interest here is two brilliant children who have shown that they are ready to learn and who are giving signals that they could be part of Ghana's human resource in the next 10 years thereabout. We want to deny them that primary interest, primary benefit of educating to become part of Ghana's citizens, because they are adherent or they manifest a religion that indicates a certain manifestation. If these guys tomorrow turn up to be, let me just say, architects or engineers, what has a Rasta head got to do with an architect? How will a person who ends up becoming an architect, who helped Ghana in our architectural landscape? How does somebody who later becomes an engineer, a construction engineer or a civil engineer or something, and then Ghana, what he would do for Ghana, that education? How does that conflict? Charlie, this country must move forward. We must move forward and get over some of these archaic stuff. So the welfare of these children in this whole braha is not denying them their education on the basis that they are having dreadlocks. It has nothing to do with it. Because if we do that, or if we continue to insist on that, we would rather be denying them the welfare. So, I mean, it's clear what the judge has done. And I will use your platform to pass on the information, what I've started seeing it yesterday, that when you guys are doing your final deliberations, you have to give praise to the judge, Her Ladyship Gifty Ejiado, because what she has done is critical. She has instantly made it clear, as other adherents of human rights have been saying, that human rights on books is not the way to go. Until we move away from having human rights on books and practically observing, upholding, respecting, protecting, and fulfilling them, we are not doing anything in respect of human rights. We cannot have them on the statute books when they are not being fulfilled. And with this ruling, she has joined the ranks of Eleanor Roosevelt, the mother and architect of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. You understand? People who stood and fought that human rights is very important and it must be upheld any which way, no matter where it is. Eleanor Roosevelt says, what is human rights? She says human rights are the things we see in small places, our schools, our homes, our workplaces, and all that. And until consented citizens take effort to uphold them wherever they are in these small places, any attempt to achieve them in the bigger world will never achieve it. A clear example is this. If a particular rule in Achimota, they might take Achimota to be a small corner. Fine, because that is what it is. Achimota school is not the whole of Ghana. But if a rule in a place like Achimota cannot be looked at, enhanced for us to achieve the realization and fulfillment of human rights, then how can we achieve a national issue of human rights like freedom of speech when the culture of silence has to be stepped in and nobody can talk? So this judge has instantly catapulted herself to that legendary status. In fact, she's written her name in gold in respect of judicial education and the path of rule of law. And so in your deliberations, you should give some kudos. In fact, it's the locus classicus of our time, to the extent that it's the first time this bold step of minority group, i.e. Rastas, they are minorities, going to court to assert their rights for the fundamental human right that they are supposed to enjoy. And yesterday in her ruling, she quoted similar persuasive authorities from Kenya, Zimbabwe, South Africa, and other areas that supports the position she wants to take. Today, as we speak, Ghana's ruling has come to stay. If something happens in Nigeria or somewhere else, the Nigerian courts can refer to this matter. And when they refer to this ruling, it is Her Ladyship's name that is behind the ruling. So we have moved forward, and we think that it's a great stride that she has made.
That's Justice Gifty Ejiado.
Ejiado, yes.
Yeah. I know her. I know her quite well.
Yes.
Thank you, and I believe I sincerely believe that this judgment is one in the interest of the rule of law.
Thank you very much.
That's my belief, and I wish you and your clients all the best.
Thank you very much, and have a nice day, my brother.
You too. All the best. That is to Ghana Manti Tete Uwayo. He is Esquire. He's a representative of Masters Magai and Nkrabia. Two students that had gotten admission into Achimota school. When they got to the school, they were wearing dreadlocks. Then they were told that you have to cut your dreadlocks. They said no. Well, our dreadlocks is a manifestation of our religion, which is Rastafarianism. The school insisted no, we wouldn't allow that. They go to court and say, well, the school is discriminating against us on the basis of our religion. So please, we want you to order the school to allow us into the school wearing our dreadlocks, because if you allow them to go ahead with what they are doing, it will be an infringement of our religious rights. That is what has happened. And Justice Gifty Ejiado agrees with them. Albert Kojo Collector Heno says, and I was transferred to Pediacopa Island for asking for materials, notebooks and syllabus. And I have never regretted going to the island school. That's why I made a request to host you on the island. Osman Lachi is saying, Boachi is over. Abba. Abdurrahman. Be careful. Very, very careful. We're taking drugs in the morning without eating. It is the reason why Kweku Rahman, is suffering from ulcers. Deacon, bet. What of the money you are supposed to donate to Nancy Foundation? Yeah, they brought something. They brought something.
Sikana macho se donate ama Domiabra by Charity Foundation.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Say charity no. Me person me say Baumia. Na say Mama Nancy Ska for the foundation. No. We fee ni fee.
Yeah.
Baumia de no ko na fee ni fee. Enti no and also I don't know. Say no escape by mo say the king cabet and am the go me so and Becky Stones the two me go ma Abdurrahman sort of right and Becky
they are finish you
and Becky I'm finish me and almost is no go for two no almost my parent for right now on the ball part after obeying you but you go meet you no now minimum the omo de baba so you have to be very careful with Zangro for train.
Look at your friend Zio has sent a message. Good morning. Hope you guys are well. Now you can start growing your locks again. Based on what the lawyer is saying, you are free to work and school everywhere in Ghana. Rastafari, much respect.
Old drugs in all Ghana.
Said I can start growing my locks again.
My child.
This is a man who has come here to see my head. He's seen my head.
When Rooney, dear no, Okudiae, Etino and Kechi, $200,000, 200,000 pounds. So, bring us as Candia. No, could be a mom. Now we are a trap. But
Operation Guru Deadlocks was an
now that will do so.
The day I'll see the 200,000 pounds is the day I'll look at it and call everybody and say, I'll keep the head like this. I like it.
The last year by not teaching them see. Please, Rastamaya block you.
Rasta block your view. If you go do so, go open why dreadlocks on me.
Sure, madam.
Hey, dreadlocks.
Vignea.
There's a moment bomb.
Mila Shobe Vignea, Vignea Sanale.
Wow. First of all, there's a miracle issue.
Mebanini.
Aye. We basana no ni.
And I send for fro. Maybe one I just Saturday.
It is dreadlocks.
Now for go be about the host in the no opportunity. Yeah, better than the ras. Why you are that Roma? Why you? Ras, why you tea? Paper headlines in number.
Okay.
Paper headlines in number. We got time or call. And then some matters in Bantempa.
Very, very
yeah. You come and say more. Matters in Bantempa. Rasta 7 the mean can be. Rasta 7 the mean can be.
Men can be.
Yeah, mean can because the main can be. Rasta the mean can be. Joe Mechiao. So say Joe a Rasta.
Joe is also.
Yeah, Joe is a Rasta. Or not the any Christian Rasta.
Okay.
And he has a reason I will keep he. That Nitino.
Okay.
To change your mutual what him say a tossum.
Okay.
So Obia or reason on the idea. But it been reasons in the end yet.
Okay. Okay. So Zio has red locks. Joe has red locks.
Zio a footballer.
Yeah.
And we're a former footballer. And at the end so it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because footballers and now we are Tiku, I know they see when him. And the boys here and the number year.
But there are a lot of people keeping dreads who are not part of the Rastafari.
No, we don't believe in any of that.
Whatever go for you on Bobo Chiroa, I'm me and Fatcher will be me. So do my own to home this year. Or a commodity was a Rasta guy. Normally Rasta for no, and Kalmi will be a Modio. Sana at the NSA because it's society be
a community.
Yeah, Omodio. But the inquiry about this year, the Rasta come. A come Rasta. me person me come you into your them so
Now see a watch you take over the reason why.
because it's yeah oh you go rasta as a mom no go court rasta is be do much.
Every 12 back there.
Okay, I was here newspaper headlines no eba and then June 1 2021
Tuesday.
what you say yes and that's Tuesday abana sida aha 90 no na sida kese nkoma ye proud sponsors womo abro moja ni asam fifiri ama sika se mfa nkoto papers no na afensu no ye ma ehunu ne yekọ ene ne ye ba o Ghana amanyosem mu no asida kese enkomom ye nchia ofa keke ono eka squad no ho a enya asem keto akra o contribute ni quota e show ne so sanso na Eugenia Peggy Abnadodu momi onso so no wabo ho modene Livingstone obo waba betem dum so nti ontimi maha oba no Livingstone tuntum awasan hye aka ho enti no eno so eno no Uncle George Dixon eka obi ni Kwatei Vanderpool nana dua Chelsea supporter papa ba ko na o se me monwuma Nancy me wia me boss adwum no na fence na Brakofi Emmanuel Dosu ena aye nana osai bubi ansa womo adaroma ena neyi womo efasa segment we huka boachi emdin Nancy ena ehwase amayen.
The Daily Graphic newspaper, ECOWAS condemns action leading to Mali instability. Court orders Achimota School to admit Rastafarians. Encroachment derails rail development. Accra Kumasi lands taking over. Daily Graphic newspaper.
Okay. Abusia yade okuni no ankasa ena ehwase na enano pay story abnadi kan boss no ECOWAS. Na yaka ECOWAS ahwe abibremu atoy mantem West Africa womo ekua jezoma kom nyina abom ene from ECOWAS enti no omo ye block e Africa na Mali eka na Mali mampanyini asojafo ekukutu na se bio mankenya eno susi esi ho no se dwuma de odi ama oman no uti omo wibi pa na no enam so ama ECOWAS chairman oye Ghana mampani womo eye ehiem kese okroma ema Buhari mu nyina ba bia nya asem ketwa na omo ye ne nyina chiri ne se ene womo de Mali eka ECOWAS region ho a enye yie zanze womo no de esia no eye kabi mamu ena amani nyina ewo mu ede se military rule e ba beka eye kamam kabi mamu ho de ebo bida enti no womo atimi ayeden eno maton kwanta pai te se asomdwe ebeba na womo ba hihye omoniema yie akwakoto aba na omasan ko back to eye kamam kabi mamu no de ECOWAS ni ono no enase Mali ekọ kwantenkro aten ho e de fi ECOWAS ho na ECOWAS for ka chirim se o hwe niam a esi o Mali eno no e de sa military rule ni ba na ayade se entwa yi enti eno so eno no na ene okọ hanu a yen keteke akwantempo ahodo me kire yen railways no dodo na paper yi atwa aba enya asem na omo ka chirim se o hwe enkrofo a jeze omo age eye keteke kwantempo no so wafa nia ne kioso se ho nia osidan nia otan de ho nyina no ne nyina kan bi ena ma nei keteke kwantempo ahodo a esen ketimi dem ofitin kra kopim komase no mesemo ada eno e kan bi ena ema entimi entumpon konanim no etwe ene nia eno so atimi aba court ahye Accra High Court ahye Achimota School se emfa ho ne obitiri ni a waye no wo mo hwemwa na abranti efre no Magai Tyron Magai woni ne papa so mo ntiase di Rastafo no omo say nature ti no mo ho no mo one of their trees bi no mo ntiase mo asesa till so be fight ama pepepe adwuma no de maza wo den ono be kopa eti Rastafarians community no na yi de wo mo atiden na Tyron Magai woni nua no yese Achimotafo nyi wom sisi ano so mo twa first semester go enti eno any stories ani paper yi e de aba ye bo hu dawuro akire amansan yenko yenim.
The Ghanaian Times newspaper, after massive decongestion of Accra, traders are back on streets. NIA begins nationwide issuance of Ghana cards June 7, and Vice President Bawumia donates 300,000 Ghana cedis to Kokroko Charity Foundation. Ghanaian Times newspaper.
Okay, yeah, the Times to us so. Na yes say Osha Ghana, especially in Krahanum, because some traders or in Krahanum. Na ebra ye betoaba ana ye toaba wiye omo hwebo ba bi ye ntranto ade ekwanu ebinumu ede geni akogu ono ebinumu de tomatoes ebinumu nso ede eye rabbit awdo wo hwe mami ote ye timso foods eno de agukwa ho eho eseka afa honom asode nti misemada mpanifo pam wo no omasan ababiem we no enya de a eboa em Africa etimi tumpon yes me sure say yebetwa US street bi so na London street bi so obekọ no Brunei do fools agu ekwan a eseka afa so no enti no eno nsem aba hanom a enya asem ketwa Dr. Alhaji Mahamadu Bamia aka Mamudu ono na danko akufado say nyagopon de MPP fo nyansa nyina agu ne trim ene wate de botom sika ye Ghana sika no 3 billion eda koma kwa msefa kan ye Kokuruku Charity Foundation no yes a foundation on to incubators at the Korean hospitals out no or mampani be de chire say ukita ne sika akobon sa 3 billion enti eno so eno no atifa dan so ana we nya atifa dan we kana atifa Professor Kanatifa and I boss and they also mo ye nationwide issuance of Ghana cards enti wo mo a o manya cards ne bi no nyame adom a jumbus me ewremu ya ne da etosonson ena sajumadi nso ehyasia enya asem ketwa enti monkai na monhye nso ehonum ti won kita Ghana card na wo de kokoje zanse nkrofo we no untimi predictive ebeka kran beka 2024 unkita Ghana card a wonto aba.
The Daily Dispatch newspaper, Attorney General's view, banning of excavators will not lead to judgment debt. Rwanda's dark side is an article. And private universities too direct to government. When 2 BBC journalists in Ghana were asked to report to dreaded Gonda Barracks in 1989, Adjoa Afari's account. Front page Daily Dispatch newspaper.
And I would say, I am the most verbally abused Ghanaian politician in history.
I see.
Do you agree with him? Ne John Mama there's any one day. Near the John Mama then wash it. Okay, yeah, the Dispatch to us so. Na Attorney General. Ura Godfrey Dame and wakachi mu say Osha ekwan a omafa so shares cavities na ono nimdie mu ene niam a wawridi as Attorney General no onu onim say judgment debt bia enkonkoto aban so dache enti wo ya shares cavity no ya hye ni free bonto a emra bia matans ye shares cavity enti no tumi no amode ma omo no eno ena omo di sisimu a eno so enya asem ketwa no na Agent Asare private universities outwa and also so ewa Ghana nchu ne ntwa so no almost se fata se free wifi yede be mom no so etimi ede asua omade ye ntwa so.
The Daily Guide newspaper, court set June 22 for Jomoro MP documents. Birim versus Indum US fraud fight deepens. And Achimota SHS ordered to admit Rasta students. Local OMCs form breakaway group. Man grabbed for burying son alive. Daily Guide newspaper.
Okay, young queer me paper yi Dr. Papa Kwasindum ya gunu bank igu ye ne yama no enhome ye say money laundering bi ne fraud bi akoso ama sa story we developing story omo de buba week in week out omo de buba na paper ba kope e no publish e no ane MPP national ye say si ano ekono egusu a je say ekona nim yipa enya asem ketwa ene high court ahye Achimota school say Tyron my guy one na busuafo ni nyina yefom gugum isi aye won kwara no krafo fra o mongo school Achimota ho enti eno so eno no na yeku enim no papa bia sebi wakodi nyambra sem yese ne ba sickle cell patient and afin so no per the advice of my pastor nangasa emamo na yehwe obi akwakotu na futubone ama ne ba no wakwakosie no mono osie no mono pa na sase mi brakwa
ahade ene better
okay,
clearer
okay ene yedu ho a na ya to aso ntino mentuni in mentuni off it waba ene yentrase na details no enso beba abana into aso.
The Daily Post newspaper. Name any law that allows you to burn excavators. Betty Mold Idrisu to Ekufuadum. Novelty as Queen Star launches first ever constituency health scheme to provide free healthcare for her constituents. And is that the public purse you promise to protect? Ablakwa asks Ekufuado. The Daily Post newspaper.
Okay, abusia ya the Daily Post ena etwa so ene anopai na offer Daily Post nimua mesema na ulim se adefe bi ekoso eda na ukuada ewo mechire Aguna East constituency yemame Krista Pokua Soya ono no yemra shibedwani wono mo enya semketwa na ohwe adefe fa mami eya na enya semketwa na yese uwo mpomdin a uwo japade na ho so odin a adwuma bi ne ho a sebio untimi enye etienam so ama ode mame Pokua health scheme a project aba enya semketwa na danu ukoda enopa hontoma na ohwe titiru a agitwi agitara ekopie mu edo manu onyam kota adwumadi na chi a na enya asem ketwa ye maame professor Jinana Opoku Ajman ono enani sem ono enani onyam kota achiri ahemfo twetwe wuru a ewo constituency wonu nyina no wo mo ekobi a enya asem ketwa obobi adako Opoku Manchester supporter a otan Chelsea ono nsu kobi a na enya asem ketwa na ohwe pepesi animu a ene na chi a emfoni ye koso ewo mekire occasion ase nyinada ebutuwa no enya asem to hwe vana esi wono mo kama ye maame Queensta Pokua Soya nimfoni tatara ho enya asem to ne yete ne se oso the project we aba se Aguna East we ka constituency no paade a se wada umpom dina ho sem ko doctor for enhwe ofidi bonto onyi sika bia ye few afifi wani ase na ye lab test na hodo na yade bi hye ho a ye mo do free esremo da yesi we de kan kra amra hye bedwani bi eyin ho si ho na sade we otimi aya Daily Post ebo ho amane a kire mu enanopo ya enye asem ke 20 no ye mo maame na baso na afensu no nyankopon ma na hoden ne nim de ontum nchi na sika so bebiri emra nsem no mfa moa wo a omu enibie.
The Chronicle newspaper. National security swoops on suspected Chinese drug peddlers. Confusion rocks oil marketing companies. Wife chases husband to death, but family police trade in accusations and counter accusations. Yes, a kunu ni oyureno omunyantoka. Obano ko report team police for no be chase be man into Odimeka air corner accident we ayo be man ai into afi family ni say obano na a chase omubano ama okonya accident forgetting that no oshino no report team police. DVLA to clamp down on bugger number plate users. The Chronicle fencing proverb of the day was saying is quotes for the day. Proverbs 10:12. Hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all offenses. So that is Chronicle.
Breso sem double crata, the Chronicle na Bible verse. Ti omo ya de anopa bia no. Omo share stories a edia de nchichi no me quotation. Pia my name de pa. Ya ku enim ne ha de. Okay. Chronicle ni na bana headline no. Se ne abana kan no. Jonathan ene Magdalene. Omo ya wafo. Na Jonas Soria hwitim na je obro Magdalene ena Magdalene eko report yema police na za akwai oso e bema nyina no se wokọ nkira chi de bat mo fa ncheme oso e bema nyina okasu police igbo sabi oti ya ne so kra na obetwa so wotum dika dwane ena opo na no ko report no before say yenko chenumra ujafo dimirika ena sabi wakwa konya accident oba oyire no ena atimi ayeden aku eye omukuru no omuba no zanza ono no wuchi si no ena nei wakwakonya ne kwahye wu na efan bi no me ne omo ya adwene yes go an report to police for na chisi na go wu ne ma enti anti na busiafo ne kasa no na ade ba ko ye yi ni se abate se mo anyini anu ebia mo mpani mfie so na ebia mo ye you said o mo ye UTI na ba ko fimu a na wan fimu kwa mpaso a aya na mabusiafo no se why experience bi da say we ye be kire no wan o yare ye kura no mo na duro say problems ba na hunu enema a o ya ka kire wa se kura o kura o ni what ya say o no duane ma no na me bra so de odidi abonten so hu
I know.
One in Cassaye, you saw about Obonesa, and or yet Chessa Bibri. It did be a bomb pass our for dear. Munina Monco Cram Momroa, na Mobaqua, Namoko, a bunny youthful is idea. Nabi could see a Nubia Eka near a Sentino, Yango Bomwa, Naminemi Irina, at least 120. Now, Yanko, or also an age in the Bambi Pa, and one ya in a couple.
Money say man would koja a man.
Most of the times, this is you. Over, you know, enjoy so that a great John crying, you know, hardly. That a great John crying. And no, I had been real. I had been real. What Obama was in the boss over the family, no, or drink a lot. And no can't be. I say obi o no answer wa wo keke and no answer wa ware keke so ba no be didi o say na ma be didi o emfa no on there pia o ye pia gumina na se bi o ono so copy gu but Yankopon on sisa sa de no
say dey
say ye kontem jama go ubi wa ko na o ye 10 years time 20 years na still da so tiase na o she adaka mnom enti eno so no na okopie mu ewo Asankragwa wo Western region akwa Chinese for be a woman so enusem ene niam na wo mo ye ho no manya sem ketwa etu a makwa jinisika o makwa je film ho ni nyina no e wo hanum enti yes these are the
side of the story saying that national security for no yesika
it was the person mo dane no e for that is why I'm so here and drug peddlers enti eno so no sika na so mu
I don't mind if they are doing drugs, they are doing money laundering, and amukoye musupi na mukochi omu gently in a professional way.
Yeah,
fine, but why do you destroy CCTV camera? Do you get it? Muya diane to say, I mean, typical armed robbery.
Yeah.
Well, you know the guys are there. They are doing something which is illegal. Go in there, arrest them. But mukwana would destroy evidence, camera. No, didn't would destroy CCTV camera footages, everything. Why would you do that?
If you think so about the right thing.
Exactly. So now that they are saying that we should do what?
It's cancelled
because I'm not sure the immigration officer would just lie on national security operatives like that.
Yeah.
And leader of the gang, as usual.
Azugu.
Honor head of delegation.
Azugu you know.
I mean, I'm not surprised because everything you could see criminal, everything he does. Onye be a professional. So I wasn't surprised that he was part of this thing. The Insight newspaper is here. Food insecurity looms in Ghana. I'm not sure the Agri Minister will be happy with this headline. Chamber of Agribusiness warns over Energy Associates refutes government claims on PPAs. Alleged assault on Mahama. 3 NPP executives hauled before court. And so that is the Insight newspaper today.
Okay. Abusia for Monko Facebook. Amelosi kekeli obi mpe or 2-bedroom house bia or they rented. Eti Monko na location here kaswa. Monko na vi Monko go house ada ni nyesika. Enti eno so when 1,000 Ghana a month. Air conditions boom. What is here? Okay, you could Insight ni na Dr. Free say yakuto. Ana Dr. Free Yakutu Agric Minister Nimfoni Denim Hanom na Nietiane se yasi anhwe ya nuani ayi di ohanom eho betimi akwatwe ni dikan ene etosimi no wo hwe ekwan a yɛsɔde a first no ne yɛburo yɛ local buro yɛ ne yɛdidua ɛnɛ yɛayɛ bibi wobɛdue bankye kora no a mom yɛnkɔfa bankye dua no mfiri aburokyire mu na enti yɛsɛ saa nneɛma no yɛkokɔ so yɛmpɛ no poma sibire a daakye bi no de ɔhaw kɛseɛ paa ɛna bɛbrɛ yɛn ɛwɔ kurom anam ɛfa yɛn nnuane ho ne yɛfa no sɛ yɛn nnuane ho nsɛnsɛm mu bɛba first no yɛdua buro aburo agric bi ama yɛ sɛ wɔ agric aburo wei na wewom na ɔmo de bi abɛdaadaa yɛn wobɛ kɔ akɔfa agric aburo bɛba wobɛ ntɛtɛ nko a kwate aseɛ ne yɛde nkateɛ ba na ɔmo de wei nso ba yɛba nkye aborɔfo agye bibia so aborɔfo no deɛ nnɛyɛ adɛn na mo yɛ saa enti ɛno nso so ɛno no na
ɛmo fɛn sɛ borɔfo nkateɛ
aborɔfo nkateɛ borɔfo akutu agric whatever
pati nyinaa
ɔmo de wipe yɛn deɛ no ɔmo de wipe yɛn first no bɛdua buro a ne yɛbu wɔ no a ne bɛkɔdua ɛyɛ sɛ agric aburo ɛna ahoɔde wɔ mu na mɛma wɔnyɛ bebree those kind of things no sika ne bere nti ɔman Ghana yɛnya ahotɔ okay yɛnkɔ.
The Hawk newspaper. Rahana moves to block school feeding graft story, admits cooking for 2 schools as deputy NADMO coordinator. No apology, says Ekufuado. And judgment day for Radio Gold et al. As courts decide fate on June 17. Foundation for West Africa did the closure of Radio Gold and other stations Akko Court.
Yeah.
So that judgment will be delivered on 17 June.
And we know goldness womb and until also Radio Gold no and we know has nothing to do with another discussion because we be behind the scenes it has nothing to do with and we need the assembly that other court free time case in by no and Suleiman Brahma our executive director the Media Foundation for West Africa so omontias here and omtebri court into woman of mudi omasem we no yen hu ni lawyer bi anim ana me bo a Radio Gold lawyer bi anim na Radio Gold bi anim ti obi na oye na dwuma enti what is a judgment day for Radio Gold ene wo mo aka ni nyina sa pepe ene tie June 17 ena abeto dwa prekope se wo mo ede eye verdict no ebeba enti eno no excavator crase ye na de kokota ontimi ni enti no we die yen kan bi.
Daybreak newspaper. National security in 2.8 million Ghana cedi thievery scandal as Sankragwa District Immigration Commander alleges. Zoom Lion MD wins prestigious female award. Bank of Ghana cuts policy rates to 13.5%, and Ghana Medical Association threatens to reject medical page of the Daybreak newspaper.
Okay, Tiabusia, Daybreak ya de twaso oko national security story last week no mate ho so de beba na ene 2.8 recronom bi scandal bi akoso 28 billion Ghana cedis. Na je say
ni afa ho enye bi enti na omu say CCTV camera no nti nkofo say omu wie na omu
ana we na omu de ko play no
bajo
you say judge no dey 2.8
okay
what you say na scanner go file na allegedly Sikana immigration officer na case commander nzo mafa na say 2.8 ya fa
baby but see
oh yeah sure na scanner o mafa nya mo ba mani o 28 billion we ba jo krono akoso eno nya asem getoa na MD Edema Zoom Lion yeso yo ba ya mana word kese pa mama na friend say mama has me nya ni wa ha ai ko mama na friend say story no way
so
Zoom Lion ai ko pe Zoom Lion sorry pa ana
say ono soliness
okay Solinendo avile solino oh Ziana mi who's that no
enti my into aso
ego oni o okay
London newspaper admits Rasta students court orders at Chimota School. Galamsey boys hijack gold mine, and dad buries 2-year-old son alive in central region on advice of prophetess. So that is the story on page 3 of the paper. And so a man and his wife in the central region are under arrest for digging up a small grave at the back of their house and burying in their biological 2-year-old child alive, while based on the advice of a prophetess. The prophetess, Nana Amma Nkansa, is on the run, but the man whose name was given as Paul Adobao and his wife Yata are under arrest, helping the police with investigations into the shocking development. According to a police report, the suspect's tenant and eyewitness say the 3 people in the act saw the 3 people in the act. It was during midnight, and because they were in the dark, the eyewitness could not identify them properly. The eyewitness, however, recognized Paul Adobao when he stepped out of the dark area and the lights on the house laminated his face. The eyewitness, a tenant in the house where the act was done, then confronted the Adobao and asked him what it was that they were doing in the dark at midnight. But the reply was that they were having a special traditional rites. It was when day broke that the eyewitness suspected the 3 persons he saw at midnight may have buried their child because the child was suddenly nowhere to be found. He then proceeded to report the suspicion to the police. The police followed up, invited the suspects, and marched them to the exact spot where the act took place. They were asked to dig up the covered grave, and when they did, in it was found the child naked and dead. Paul Adobao and his wife were immediately arrested and explained to the police that it was Paul who told them to bury the boy because he was a problem child. Further investigations revealed that the suspect, Paul Adobao alias Kojoko, is married to Yata, and have 4 children. The deceased, from the time of his birth, was not able to walk. Due to such a situation, the father consulted prophetess Amma Nkansa at Gomwa in Shem, who told the suspect that the baby is a spiritual child from a river, and if he doesn't return the baby back to the river gods, he would continue giving birth to such babies. End of story.
Wow.
So,
Enti prophetess. Enti we they say any ayibachi area no pa you.
Why?
Common sense family for. So say advice one man advice. Prophetess.
Any man advice.
Say akoda ni nsuba.
Enti onko bearing.
No.
To ahwe won back it to 2 years enim. Edigi grave.
Say
edinashim.
Em say akoda no
asan nyi egu so.
It is akoda de oh say no tibia na oba. Timenwa say wow say ne wo pese wunya no. Yes,
you see, almost a sickle cell.
Yeah.
I'm not holding brief for the parents, but these are some of the reasons why somebody like me, I support the call for fix the country.
Yeah.
Okay. And to say, yeah, what system B, I educate now banning a sickle cell. And yet, your friend saying, River God be asem. That this and this and this is what you can do to help the child. Well, with Sanya Manuel, you have prominent people. KSM has not hidden his sickle cell status anywhere. Anytime he has the opportunity, he will tell you he's sickle cell. Check KSM, baby, I will do Nabrabum. You see, so all these things, Charlie.
Education can and system
by a sickle cell
system no so nyai.
Why do you that to the extent that obi beti and the culture
spiritual
yes or spiritual river god be ho into kokunu then what's your back
galamsey our win service before all call trek no
me call him
now call David now call him.
You're not correct.
So those chemicals na nkrofo di gu omyem no eno na man kora ni bi ni because ade na moja o eti any hard ayi bi kokana ebe change the formation
Yeah.
nti nneɛma bi wɔ no ma nyɛ spiritual nyɛ bibia na yɛ spiritual and when nya obi a me sa wɔ no so sɛ yɛn mu bi a because me as prophet of the land no me catch you say oba
land me. Bempa bebu o this title ne finish say me be hand pa obe how
nana the prophet on one side as prophet of the land me catch you say oba nya sickles and kukusi no insu ba no enti no okay Tyrone Maguire ene ne nuanom mienu ene won papa it's you na egu omo you know me shene the omde Ghana we pam no no odi eno an say Tyrone Maguire or kwa chimota eno an no abna yento aso.
The ABC News is here. National security breaks Chinese crime ring in Asankragwa. War on Galamsey can't be a walk in the park. And Professor Nana Jane Opokwajiman's take on excellent WASI results. Vice President to Kokroko Charity Foundation. ABC News.
Okay, ABC News to us Asanko and Ukrainitia a friend or Western region or share national security. A crown fast Chinese former Kumakunsia. Yes, Kaira and Honsem Oha, almost all money laundering. It you qua, you be be a ball, said about Yawasam Enyede, and Ohanum, Vice President Watamusika, 3 billion. Akoma Sefaka and so in Fankoton Kubita, Nonundi, or Shankro for computer and network homes and some etimi aye. Enti, and also so Elhanum, na Yeko Yenimono, a year Professor Jinana, and a Professor Nana Jane, Opoku Ajiman. Ono so akamiashim ede afa eye wasi results anansen and also epuba ye no eno e hanum sanso ena editorial no wase wo on Galamsey okay abana to aso.
The final newspaper I have is the Business Analyst newspaper. Bank of Ghana cuts key interest rates to support economic rebound. Achimota School dealt heavy legal blow by Rasta students. I knew my admission would tell a great story. That is a quote from Rasta Boy. Top African media leaders in Accra for 2-day confirm on impact of COVID-19 on media. Front page, the Business Analyst.
Okay, yeah, the area na Dr. Ernest Addison, one of the governor. Bank of Ghana or catch him say Sisia de Omo Shaboa say Obakwa Bosia by scared be mauna who esi hono ayane e bungrofo kum teni womo say who said be Ghana economy no ebesan agena naso bi nam COVID-19 a eno so eba enti eno no na yeko yenim so no Achimota Tyrone Maguire o say ni wakokodin adinkunim enti ono no gidie se ekopa wako ne nkunimdi abotira court ndi amano wona abusuafo ne Rasta family phone nyina no da achibi no ebetimi akwakoyense na ho ede ama enchirima enti eno so eno no yebegina we so wakrata eba ye tifin sema de ba di hia na ese wote no ede besia no ene eye June 1 sanso ye new week new day enti ede besia no na yadamase the sponsors na yadamase na agbozo heba so se me no ni nkomo nka nkyere o se oye bema no ayemere ompamo onu nkuto no betime nyane no ama otime abodwuma ka kyere oba ne se obedi sika obedagi oba so a sebi white age oba bi afa no mepacho ko ne ko no ma wadru ne sisi o sanse na naba na obedi asem na obeba na sebi yempra ho no mo a nana eko no ama bi mu a de aso hye beba enti kopie mu ewo nakache kopie mu nakache da kuma himfi ho no ma eho na ebutu ene Dr. Agbozo eni nkomo na emfamai Dr. Agbozo eni nkomo amepe Dr. personal number no na memfanto emfamao 0246283666 0246283666 Agbozo Osino man has an expiry date. Womunyina kan bi ana yedi show no eba wonche enne enti monka na mo hye ne so ensem ne doso papa na Rastafo no edie no edi mutintima yi papa and I feel Nana Danko Akufo-Addo on any squad no kwan o first wa COVID-19 abese economy say ni omo kana no emo mutumi sika na omo ko han plane 28 billion and so on national security so and national security for eba ho yenim see eba be protect you and I be wi ano Yankopon ko a enenim no mo you do be see na matwa me ho aba.
Give me the Hawk newspaper.
Okay. Hawk.
Okay, so let me read to you exactly what this whole issue.
This is from your friends in Sakuma. Auntie Annie says hi. Yeah. She sent me something that I should play for you people. I'll play so.
Okay. Auntie Annie, any badge?
Sakuma, this is we should play things. Yes.
Nana dia because Nana dia the banate about Chelsea Sudie Naila him
Chelsea for more rep or show no something
Chelsea for Chelsea for
Friday mama
Chelsea for you answer if you go after 2 hours
Chelsea for and Gamuka said I mean Jabachi no Ashala watch Chelsea has won there why you did this fufu kitty want to me up want to me up Uto fufu
your friend is saying the line one water and the line one water is a Chelsea supporter Uto fufu my no good dinner
Mandi we champo. And you know what to fufu amake.
And the line you don't water. And they could be fufu. Them go no so I watch it.
They could have done better.
I can say, oh, they could have done better. No, I can hear numbers. So the Chuma City could be after Madrid, no?
Yeah.
So Chuma City is out.
Okay.
Chuma City is out. Because Chuma City we could do after Madrid. The chairman, because I want to fuck up.
Yes.
I want to fuck up. So after Chuma City we do Chelsea supporters will be in and the line and what to buy. We can do Nana dia gaga is me na at least Nana wa she good of but where say na
let me just read the story. Page 3 of the Hawk newspaper. Judgment Day for Radio Gold and others as court decide faith on June 17. And the story is that Accra High Court had judgment in the case between Media Foundation for West Africa and National Communications Authority over the closure of some radio stations. On May 26, the court presided over by Justice Gifted Diado, the same court that gave the judgment on the Rastafarian issue. That same judge. On Wednesday, May 26, the court presided over by Justice Gifty J. Abdo, after its order for the parties to file their written submissions, said it has in its possession all the submissions from the parties and will have to prepare its judgment within 2 weeks. Then the paper continues to give a brief background of what has transpired so far. And the background is that on July 22, 2020, Media Foundation for West Africa through its executive director, Suleiman Abana, requested for information from the NCA in exercise of its rights guaranteed under Article 21(1)(f) of Ghana's 1992 Constitution and the Ghana's Right to Information Act 2019, Act 989. The Media Foundation for West Africa requested for full list of all FM radio stations indicating name of company, name of radio station, location and frequency number that it had shut down following the authority's 2017 FM spectrum audit. According to the NCA, the exercise was in respect of the 2018 decision of the Electronic Communications Tribunal. The Media Foundation for West Africa also requested for the full list of all authorized FM stations as of second quarter of 2020, with indications of the days of first authorization, days of last authorizations, renewals, locations and operational status of the radio stations, that is, whether they are all on air or off air. Media Foundation for West Africa sued the NCA on November 27, 2020 over the closure of some of the radio stations. The applicant is seeking, among other things, quote, a declaration that the decision and demand by responding contained in its letters dated July 29, 2020 and August 2020 about are unlawful, unreasonable, unfair, and in violation of the applicant's constitutional and fundamental right to access information. End quote. The Media Foundation for West Africa is also asking for a declaration that the amount of 2,000 Ghana cedis demanded by the respondent from the applicant in order to generate information constitutes constructive denial, refusal, failure, or neglect, and breach of applicant's right to information in Article 21(1)(f) of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. It is also asking for a declaration, quote, that the amount demanded is not only unlawful but unconscionably exorbitant in breach of the letter and spirit of the Act 989 and applicant's fundamental right to information. The applicant is seeking a declaration that the information requested by the applicant is not subjected to a charge or fee, or the alternative. He is asking for, quote, a declaration that if the applicant were liable to a charge or fee, say more to be an ascertainable amount to cover the actual cost of production of photocopy of the information sought only, end quote. The Media Foundation for West Africa is also seeking an order for the court in enforcing its rights to information under Article 21(1)(f) of the Constitution by compelling the respondent to provide the information requested. So clearly, if you go through the story, yes, little to do directly with our closure. Now, it has more to do with, if you recall, they requested some information from the NCA.
Yeah.
The information was to tell them about, okay, the radio station you closed, okay, where they are located, why the last time they paid you, they renewed their licenses, and the date when they started operation, among others. But they even requested for a total list of all the radio stations.
Okay.
To see who was in good standing and who was not. No, that is what they were denied. They were asked to pay, is it 2,000 Ghana cedis to cover the fee. The fee of getting the documents they were asking for. So
or documents, not the bros, or they will definitely do that to justify their claims. And I
think that's the challenge now. So the Media Foundation is going under their right to information. They are requesting information, basically. They are not fighting for the reopening of the radio stations.
Yeah, okay.
What they want is information. Information exactly what has happened, exactly where they are. So they want information on all radio stations, their location, date of operation, the last time they renewed their authorization, and whether they are still operating on their own or off air. That was the information they requested. And then they were asked to pay money in order for that information to be made available. So they went to court saying, no, I don't need to pay money for you to give me that information.
Okay.
Even if I were to pay money, you should you should explain to me how come I'm paying a specific amount and what that amount covers.
Okay.
So that's clarity they wanted from so that's how come they are in court. Not about us opening a radio station or not.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's clear. Okay. Another story in the Hawk newspaper that I just wanted to draw attention to is the one that has to do with the school feeding program. Page 6, Rahana moves to block school feeding draft story, admits cooking for 2 schools as a deputy NADMO coordinator. And this is a deputy director, National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, for the Northern Region, Hadia Suleimana Rahana Aziz, has threatened to take legal action against the editor of the Hawk newspaper and acting manager of Tamale Radio, Rubicon Manasseh, for allegedly defaming her over school feeding fraud. This newspaper reported on the 11th of May 2021 that the Northern Regional Women Organizer, Northern Regional Deputy NADMO Coordinator, has been collecting subventions for cooking for 9 schools. It was a report that the schools allocated to Hadia Rahana could not be traced in the records of the Northern Regional Secretariat of the Ghana School Feeding Program. We reported that Hadia Rahana Aziz went by a raft of pseudonyms, including her daughter, sisters, aides, and her incapacitated granny. In a spirited attempt to discredit the report, Hadia Rahana makes a confession through her lawyer, Sylvester Isan, that she has only 2 schools under the school feeding program, and not 9 as reported by this newspaper. Quote, our instructions are that if you have contacted, if you had contacted our client for a response before going public with your false publication, you would have realized that our client has only two schools under the school feeding program, and not 9, as you allege, she said through her lawyer. For us, this admission is a vindication of our report that Hajia Rahana went by a raft of pseudonyms, including names of her biological daughter and sisters. In our 11th May 2021 story, we identify Suleimana Rahana as the name Hajia Suleimana Rahana Aziz used for Nyankpala DA primary projects. Let's move to page 10. With e-switch number, they give the e-switch number by practice standards and procedures by the Ghana School Feeding Program. One caterer is not allowed to cook for more than 500 pupils per school. We are Nyankpala DA primary have a total enrollment of 1,300. Curious is how a deputy regional NADMO director got contracted as a caterer to cook for school-going children from Monday to Friday per week per term, 2 uninterrupted academic years. However, she is yet to explain to her lawyer how she was able to combine her busy schedules as a regional women organizer, deputy NADMO director, and a caterer for school feeding, knowing well the school feeding contract is not transferable. Embarrassed by publication, Rahana, through her lawyer, Sylvester Isang, is demanding a retraction apology plus a cash amount of $60,000 as damage done for her reputation. For her, we should desist from ever publishing any information whatsoever, and whatever advertising us for not fact-checking our information before publication. They were writing to one Francis Ejaku Donko as the editor of the Hawk newspaper. Our instructions are that you, Francis Ejaku Donko, that's a quote, subsequently appeared on various television stations and was also contacted by various radio stations to throw more light on your publication about our client, end quote. One of the letters read, we are unable to respond to the demand notice or notice of intention to commence legal action against us because we have received 2 separate letters from Bewa Chambers, Tamale, both signed by lawyer Sylvester Isang, one via WhatsApp and another by DHL. A notice was served on me about 6:10 a.m. on Wednesday, 26th May 2021 by a man who identified himself via a WhatsApp conversation as Sylvester Isang of Bewa Chambers, Tamale, and acting as counsel for Hajia Rahana. Then, on Thursday, 27th May 2021, a rider with DHL by name Daniel Ajete delivered to me an envelope from Bewa Chambers at about 6:45 p.m. containing a demand notice to commence legal action against me. Despite the importance placed on the letters from Bewa Chambers, we are sincerely at sea as to which of the 2 demand notices we should attempt to respond to. Without prejudice, it is right that they cancel or withdraw one of the 2 demand notice or notice of intention to commence legal action after I communicated to lawyer Sylvester Isang that I have received his letter from DHL. So that's coming from Charles McCarthy Stables. You know, he's been reporting on school feeding program. He's going to talk about what is happening in the northern region, and the letter, and this one applies particularly to the deputy northern regional coordinator of the Ghana School Feeding Program, who he has written about. Her story is about the fact that the deputy northern regional coordinator of the NADMO actually has in her custody, or has been able to secure for herself 9 different school feeding contracts. 9 different school feeding contracts. That means she's feeding students in 9 different schools. That's the allegation that the documents they have here, their possession show that. And they're saying that, well, in 2 schools she used her name, but in the other schools she used the name of her daughters, her sisters, and in one school she even used the name of her grandmother, who is not even able to move about, who is like, who can't move. So after doing that, they published the stories, and now Hajia Rahana Aziz, who is the lady at the center of this story, has written through her lawyers to Charles McCarthy and the Hawk newspaper, and they're asking for a retraction apology, and they say they are demanding for 60,000 Ghana cedis. Plus the fact that they will never publish anything in relation to this story again.
Sometimes when amount for office or more power, nobody say who. Then almost started to use the courts, to use the whatever.
No, this one they haven't even gone to court. They are threatening to go to court.
It was started threatening to want to many, then they will move on and court. When it to pass with the bonnet. Zana no bo unim say ni pay the bonnet, but over catch say no because court will hold them. And if Zana sometimes I thought be say yeah Ghana for. We also share school feeding. A kwanya sikafa so minigana sikafa so miegu nkrofo nsemo a makati de ho nsem ba ya. And this will be a baba ye because this can only happen under in Akufo-Addo's governance and as under Akufo-Addo's government. Say be a coordinator ahwabo amapore kankan ni dwunu ekoso na ya pamono. Now 2 days later order from above the presidency will order the sector minister I not to one more so no share no boy mama Ghana say go and restore and I say go and reappoint or whatever idea me appoint you to me disappointed and you go and do reappointment or whatever it is zananumbu to the bia ayana Ghana metimi hu I said the amankrophobia kafa it they will use say unipa bia nearby more they will use the security apparatus they will use all those institutions against you I don't know of course no to uni come for any will be a ono or tell what you say would they your story o woman come wo sumu o han wo bedu wachia nya bibia just to retract and apologize okay ya o man hene kwabra sante o ye ne story bi ema o man hene o send the apology by because o man hene threaten no say wa nya you dey be court me wa na asem a waka tape da ho no kire say o say jubilee house wo no no ba bia ye di intimidating microphone bokro na de ade wankasa o kan o tape but o man ne kwatra yi kwa ka say just ase o mo no mo ka asem ne to ho a o mo no pe na wo nyansa o mo de ti ase this is not the first time ye colleagues central for threaten another central for because ayi wakoka asem ama ayi story no obi ehun in a different perspective it why ebema ba bi odidi no e ho asai eti no wonye dede na osan fa apology no nyesa odun be court what can asem what ye the tape no be ba they analyze it but uncrophobia face o mo yedwuma uncrophobia they have access to authority enti those in authority enti no wo mo ba hunahuna nipa e bia na ekoso yi so senanumbo Africa de say yebe etimi ye di ye akoanimu a ye mpanifo abagie akonwa no ese omoye omadwene ho dwuma anya sa pa de a ye te form ne de enye yie sa because panina di bone pa wodi ne story be kono be ka che so bo obetreten won wa hwe na woni security bi ya onam wa na ya soma nkrofobia mama be bo because me ken omo ohwe obi eti upese o kan nipa na wa asem na wa nyina yie a they will come after you so adwuma we no ye adwuma nyame pe na hwe ye so nyame pe na hwe so eye wo adwuma pa because politicians no Ghana no anase wiase nyango bo ni wiase tumi nyina ma omo mu di wiase so eno nti na president bi timi so de order soldier form fa police form fa cars be 100 obetimi aka se ne ma obia ntu ne car e be adwuma because wiase tumi ne dia mom it is omo answer chero madwen anya omadwen mu adwuma Africa yenko ye nimu da numo mame kwa chiro mra unim problem ne dada it mess up back why
okay stay with you here on the Go Power Drive.
Sonny Bio, Intiania Chesa, Mayadana Mesabeco Mano. I am a branch, you're my bro. Nama Busiano, Simisoni Bio, Intiania Chesa, Mayadana Mesabeco Mano. What's a plan to you? Stand still in the Anna, still the moon man, stand in the
Magwesi Bedu is saying a good morning to Marcella Graciela is also saying a good morning, Sister Akpe. Good morning to you. Good morning to Gloria Johnson. Kelly says greetings to Jah Rastafari. No need to apologize to say it. Blessed laugh to all. Michael Kpakpo Akwe is also saying more fire to you all. Elizabeth says a good morning to us. Kabul says where did Baumia get the money? Ferguson Osborne is saying a good morning to us. Lengi Charinati, luck is when opportunity hits preparation. Did I not tell you that this president was not prepared for this luck? So the DJ says a good morning to us. Wonderful to see you. Says please, Nancy, please, what is the rent involved in these apartments? In the apartment, I don't know which apartment. Abdul Rahman says, Deacon Pa, you see your end. Instead of you giving the Chacha Sika to Nancy, you give it somewhere. How could Chronicles be a verse? Chronicles is a book, not a verse. Abdurrahman, good morning to you. Abigail G said GMO foods are so bad. Ghana, please grow organic foods in UK. There's more than gold. Ghana, please stop GMO foods. But the DJ says Ghanaians are not hungry and hungry enough. Look at the youth in Lagos State. Due to the drop in business proceeds, they are forcibly open their border to Benin for traders and traveling. God be with the youth of Nigeria. And then you say, okay, but don't worry, it was a prophetess and not a deacon. You would have heard from my corner. Yeah, this is Harry, I hear you. No, you didn't say this. No, it's not that I will not read your message. I just need you to send me the message again because I keep losing it. I just said that I couldn't. Your message was not so clear that if you could take your time and rewrite it for me, I'll read it. Joachim Hosedo says the sound is gone. Okay, sorry. Elizabeth says His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and Professor Jenana Opoku Ajiman for 2024 with the DJ. This sounds very positive. So you are coming back. So remember, I said that last October it's going to happen live. Well, I guess I read the rest of the story for you. Joachim Hosedo says, okay, thank you. With the DJ, when we say the national security is an organization of MPP tax, some people counter-attack. How many, if they have been accused, how many of them have been accused of armed robbery cases, beating of vulnerable citizens and illegal mining this year alone? Amos Olanyo, she is joining us. Well, we are still dealing with that story of what has happened to the Rastafarian story. Don't forget the Rastafarian student. Don't forget we have been dealing with that story for a while. Henry, I don't know if you can find me a newspaper. If any of the newspaper is carrying a report on the strike at Komfo Anokye Hospital, the one that involved the biomedical scientist. But this morning, one of the things that we are also talking about, let me quote to you the Bank of Ghana's details on exactly the state of our debt. And this is what the Bank of Ghana is saying. And it says that provisional data on budget execution for the first quarter of 2021 indicated an overall broad cash budget deficit of 2.6 of 2.6% of GDP against the target of 2.5% of GDP. The primary balance also recorded a deficit of 0.7% of GDP compared to the target deficit of 0.4% of GDP. Over the first quarter, total revenue and grants amounted to 12.8 billion cedis. That's 3.0% of GDP, lower than a projected 15.8 billion cedis. So we are already missing our revenue targets. So we projected to raise 15.8 billion the first quarter. We've raised 12.8%. 12.8 billion. So 15.8, we raised 12.8 billion. So we've missed our target by 3 billion cedis. Total expenditures and arrears clearance amounted to 24.3 billion. So you can see the expenditures and arrears clearance alone would absorb our revenue and still will have a shortfall. And because 5.7% of GDP against the target of 26.5 billion, 6.1% of GDP. Financing of the fiscal deficit in the first quarter was mainly from domestic sources, which pushed up the stock of public debts to 304.6 billion cedis at the end of March 2021. So the public debt stock is 304.6 billion cedis at the end of March 2021, compared with 292.7 billion cedis at the end of December 2020. Of the total debt stock, domestic debt was 163.6 billion, which is 37.7% of GDP, while the external debt was 141.0 billion, which was 32.5% of GDP. So do the math, 37.7 as against 32.5% of GDP. Do the math and you see. Well, like I indicated, we are still dealing with the issue of what has happened in the case of the Rastafarian student, and we're joined by a man who teaches at that level and is also an educationist on this issue, Mr. Benjamin Tete. Thank you very much for your time, and a good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
I hope you're well.
By the grace, I'm fine.
It's been a while since we spoke.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you're back to school anyway.
Yes, we are. We are back to school.
How was it going? There's a lot of talk, because recently there was something circulating on social media that said, is it a Go Track Form 2 students? They came to school for 39 days and they are supposed to be on holidays for 93 days. How is that the academic calendar working?
Well, Senna, to say that how is the academic calendar working, it's a difficult question to answer by any teacher. To be frank with you, since we start this free essay testing, and particularly the double track thing, students have not stayed in the school up to a specific period given on the timetable that is released by GES. So what happens is that the timetables are given, periods are given that the student will begin from this time to this time. At the end of the day, what happens is that along the line, circulars come around to headmasters to ask students to go home. Recently, if you will remember, you know that the founders who are in school now were supposed to open to report to school. Somewhere around April. The date that was fixed was changed, and they had to stay on up to some time before they finally get to school. And they are in school now. At the time they had to report, the Form 2 goals, that is those who are doing in the goal track, their period was to end at a certain point. But because the Form 3s had to report, they were asked to leave abruptly. As we are speaking now, last week, that was on a Friday, one group of Form 2 school are now in the house, and that is the Gold. They are going so that the counterparts that are in the house will report this week. I am told that today they will be reporting. But so far, I have not seen any students around yet. Then because of that, the Form 1s who reported, that is the ones who are in Form 1 now, they reported in school, and then they were supposed to stay on up to some time. But along the line, they had to break, and one part had to go to the house. Because initially, government said that they will not do double track anywhere in any school. Then along the line, there was another announcement that they will do double track. So the Form 1s came to school about 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and they had to divide them. Part had to go to the house, so they are in the house now.
So the Form 1s are also now part of the double track system?
Yes, they are part of the double track system. In the schools that are running the double track. You know, some of the schools are not running double track.
Okay.
Right. So for the schools that are running double track, the Form 1s are doing double track. And part of the group is in the house now.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it's still a matter of the fact that there's not enough spaces in some schools to contain them, so
Exactly.
they are rotating them.
Exactly. They are rotating them. So when they reported, they all reported. About 2 weeks to 3 weeks, they were divided and part had to go to the house. So they are in the house now. And the part that in the school are they are writing their exams by next week, and they will leave school on the 15th of this month. And then their counterparts will report on the 18th of this same month. So the Form 1s are doing double track. The Form 2s are also doing double track. So that is why I'm saying that the part that is in the house are reporting today. And the part that is in the school left school just last Friday. Even I've learned from other schools that they were supposed to leave on the Saturday, that is last Saturday. But on a Friday, they had to let the school, the Form 2s, they had to let them go home on the Friday immediately. So they left.
Let me understand this. When you were just talking about somebody leaving, somebody coming in, when I was going to school, I don't know, it was as simple as, because I thought the initial arrangement far back then, before this whole double track matter came in, was that for you teachers and also those who are in charge of the schools and holding several positions, by the beginning of the academic year, you know when the first term was going to start, when it was going to end, when the second term was going to start, when it was going to end, when the third term was going to start, when it was going to end. Now, what is the situation now? Are you able to tell when one end, when one goes on, when one end, when one goes? How does it work?
Senna, to be frank with you and to be very honest with you, you can call any teacher in any school and ask him or her if he can tell you when the academic calendar begins and when it ends. I am very sure no teacher can tell you that. Previously, as you said, that has been the system of education that we are running in Ghana here. So every teacher, every administrator knew from the beginning of the year when we are beginning the first term, the second term, and the third term. That is not the case now. The case now is all about directives from so-called above authorities. So anytime they can ask the headmaster to let the student go, and the headmaster will just announce to teachers that, well, tomorrow this group are going. So the case of this system that we are running is different from what we were running first. So if you can even do your own research in schools, you will see that the schools do not follow a timetable throughout the year. Within even the semester, the timetable may change 2 or 3 times. So no teacher can tell you that. If you ask any teacher and tells you that, I don't know when the students are coming back, it's because the teacher is not aware when exactly they will report. You know, government puts timetable in the system that, oh, these track are going home at this time and they will be returning at this time. Those timetables are in the system, but they really don't work on the ground in the schools. They really don't work.
So based on that, are you able to tell, because you are also supposed to take some time off, holidays, you are free, and then you come back when the school reopens. How does that work? Do you get some free do you get holidays off? What happens?
Good. What is happening now is that in the schools, that depends on the arrangement that the school does. In some of the schools, they do it such that the teachers are divided so that track. Therefore, if that track is asked to go home, as is the the normal now, the teachers will also have a break at that time. However, in some of the schools, the system is such that a teacher may be teaching Form 3 class, Form 2 class, and also Form 1 class. In those cases, the teacher will not have break throughout the year. Because if he is taking a track in Form 2, for instance, and then they will have to break and go home. By the time they are breaking and going home, his classes in Form 1 are in school. They are in section. And therefore, he cannot go or she cannot go. So he will continue. By the time his classes in Form 1 are also to break and go home, the other group in Form 2 will be coming into the school. So he will also not go home again. He will have to continue with the Form 2 classes that have also reported. So throughout the year, the teacher will have no break.
Wow. One last question on this issue of free SHS. I know there was something else we called you on, but once you're on with me, I just wanted to ask you a few questions. There's this argument that's made by the Ghana Education Service over and over again that they are, how do you put it, that contact hours. You know, somebody goes to school for 39 days, goes home, sit at home for 93 days. And then the GS is arguing that the contact hours of that person who goes to school for 39 days and then goes home for 93 days is now better or has improved, is more than the contact hours of somebody who used to sit in school for 93 days and goes to home for less than 39 days. Exactly what is the dynamics that plays out here? Is that accurate?
You know, that is one of the tricky aspects of the whole system that we are running. You know, when they argue that way, what they mean is that previously, when we were having the old system where we have term 1, 2, and 3, during that period, what we call a period or a session in class is about 45 minutes. Now, with this new system, the introduction of this free SHS and the changes that came with it, the period or the section of class is 1 hour. All right. So if you want to do that calculation, you see that 45 1 hour, how many minutes taken or added? That is 15 minutes, right? Good. So if somebody is doing 2 periods, that is in the previous system, he will be doing 90 minutes, right? Now, if somebody is doing 1 period in the current system, he will be doing 1 period, that is for 1 hour. Okay, that will be 60 minutes. So his 2 period will be 120 minutes, you understand? Good. In that case, any person looking at the whole thing on the surface will say that, yeah, the contact hours have increased. You get a point. But that is not the only thing that happens. From the day that the student reports to the time that the student leaves the school, there are so many things that comes in the way. So you have to calculate all those things. How many hours does the student sit in the class for that 1 hour section to take place? All right. So today, because they do not stay in the school for long, if you calculate it in hours, that is contact hours, then you are likely to say that, oh, for long. If you calculate it in hours, that is contact hours, then you are likely to say that, oh, we have increased the contact hour. But in the actual effect, because they don't stay longer in the school before they leave for the house again, that contact hour increase does not work. It is affecting the children in terms of how effective they learn in the school.
Very, very wonderful explanation. Thank you for explaining that. And that's a practical way. But let me move on. I think I have to have you especially on the issue of free SHS and how it is looking now. But we called you because we wanted to talk about this whole issue of the Rastafarian students who were initially denied entry by Achimota School because they decided to keep their dreadlocks, and the decision of the court. First of all, we had not spoken to you when that decision was initially taken. So first, what is your view of the decision of Achimota School?
All right. Senna, thank you. Very, 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 very honest on that issue. My position when the issue came up was that I just put a statement on Facebook that in this country we do much about nothing. That was the statement I put there. To mean that, you see, I don't see that Achimota case as an issue at all. Achimota as a school have more than 3,000 students in the school. And you have 1 or 2 students who comes in and they have dreadlock. And that is their way of life. And that becomes a whole issue for the country. I didn't see it. I didn't really see that as an issue at all. So if you ask me, that was my initial position.
Exactly what does that mean? Because practically what we are all thinking about is, should Achimota have allowed the students to go in, or should they have prevented the students? Where do you stand on the matter of whether the students should have been allowed in under the circumstances, considering the fact that they said they were keeping it based on religious grounds and the constitution is clear? What do you think about Achimota's reasons and whether they are right or justified in where they stand? Because they insisted that the students could not come in without cutting off the dreadlocks.
Well, exactly. Maybe you didn't understand me. That is what I mean by my position had been that we were just crying about nothing. Achimota should have actually admitted the students. So Achimota's position in not allowing them in the school, for me, was wrong.
And that's as simple and straightforward as that?
Yes.
So I'm guessing that then the decision of the court sits well with you.
Exactly. You see, exactly because the ruling is a matter of what? The right of the person, all right? When you look at our constitution, we have rights and we have responsibilities. One of the rights of a person or of a citizen of Ghana is the right to education. All right, so we have kids who are supposed to go to school, and they report to the school, they wrote exams that they qualify to be in the school. And then in admitting them in the school, in a higher institution from education, the fact and the matter is that because of their hair, they must not be allowed to be in the school. Based on what? You see, that is the question. So some people were arguing that it's because their hair is not the style of Achimota. I think that is wrong. That is the way they live naturally. In fact, look at our universities, some of the universities. I know that in some of our universities we have Rastafarians who have these dreadlocks who are teaching in the school. So if they had not gone to school somewhere, if they had not learned somewhere, would they have become lecturers? Or is it that they should just have their way, have their knowledge somewhere, and that their knowledge is needed? That one we need it. But when they have to learn, we can't accept them in the society. And you see, more funny and interesting about the whole thing is that I asked that question to some of my colleagues. Today, look at our ladies in the society, in our homes, in our workplaces. What kind of hair are they wearing? Isn't that these dreadlocks that they are paying huge amount for? So if somebody has his dreadlock naturally, he must not go to school. I don't think that is right.
But what about the argument that still went there? The argument of uniformity, hygiene. This is the way we have always done things. That we want the students to.
The argument of what, please?
Uniformity.
Okay, right.
There's even the argument of hygiene that has been made. That we insist on that because of uniformity. And also the fact that essentially there has to be a certain level of discipline in the school. Students need to know that this is how we need to act. This is the line we need to toe, among others. What about that argument? What do you make of it?
Exactly so. There should be discipline in the school. I subscribe to that perfectly. I subscribe to that. No two ways about that. But we should ask ourselves, is the dreadlock in the school an act of indiscipline? A person wearing dreadlock, is it an act of indiscipline? Can you help me out? In a person wearing dreadlock, is it also an issue of sanitation? What sanitation problem does it create in the school? When was the last time you saw lice in somebody's hair? And have you seen one in the person wearing dreadlocks hair? Have you seen lice in his or her hair? Have you seen one before or recently? So what is the issue of sanitation? Where does it stand? It doesn't. Are they not in our society? And have we said that in the society they are creating sanitation problem and therefore we will not accept them? Have you heard somebody making that argument in the society? It doesn't click, please.
But now they have a ruling. The person who was in their way was the headmistress and also the entire school governing board.
Yeah.
They have a ruling. They have a judgment. The court says allow them to go into the school. Knowing the school environment, what do you think they should be anticipating?
Well, I think maybe that may be one of the unfortunate aspects of us in this country, where we hold on to grudges after settlement. If that is going to happen in the school, then it means we have a long way to go as a country. The moment there is a settlement where there is dispute and the settlement has been done, everybody must just go on with that. So I don't see any problem with that. The boys must go to school and they must just be admitted. Whatever provisions that has to be done for them, they should do it and they should continue with their study. I even learned yesterday, it was even yesterday that I got to know that they are even day students. They are not boarders. And if they are day students, what it means is that they come to the school in the morning, after learning they go home. All right? So all the issue of those sanitation things that even doesn't come in, doesn't click even, it makes it unreasonable to see. So I think that at this ruling, the headmistress, who is the leader of the school, must just allow the matter to just move on, admit the students without any sign of having any peeved against the children, because it is not about her. This issue is never about the headmistress. She is doing her work. Before the ruling, she felt, based on other people's opinions, she felt that no, we can't accept her in the school. In fact, the headmistress does not make rule for the school. She is also following some of the ruling and maybe regulations in the school. So if the court says that no, you can't go by that way, it is not about her.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes. And we'll keep following that. But in the meantime, let me just one last question before you leave.
Right.
It has to do with this whole issue. I don't know if you've heard about the Central Regional Chairman of Ghana National. No, but before that, Nagrat has been taking some very stern position on this matter.
Yes.
You as a teacher, I don't know whether you're a member of Nagrat. And I'm sure then, based on what you're saying, you completely disagree with him.
I will not let you learn. I do disagree with my leader. You see, let's be frank. When it comes to discipline, when it comes to matters of discipline, we must be able to distinguish behavior that are deviant, and we must work on those ones. Discipline students when it comes to deviant behaviors. Let me give you an example. For instance, a student comes to school with a nice haircut, right? He's in the school. And the school rule is that, okay, keep yourself and environment clean. Then suddenly the student goes home and then he comes back and we see that he has left the hair very bushy, right? It is our duty as teachers and administrators to make sure that the students conform to those rules or those ways that conforms to the society, such as what? Keeping yourself neat, So if the student leaves the head very, very bushy and he's becoming very untidy, it is our responsibility to put the student right. So we must distinguish between what is deviant behavior and that which is not. The Rastafarian issue is not about deviant behavior. So if we are arguing that now we are going to look on why students misbehave, I disagree. I disagree totally.
Well, thank you for saying that. There's just a question that I think is a direct question that requires a direct answer. Where you teach, one of my viewers on Facebook is asking, please, and I ask him if there's a law about hair cutting in the school. Are there rules that insist on that?
Well, that is one of the areas that the whole country we must look at. But I also think that coming from a home or a background where we have been given certain training, we can't make fast and hard rules about everything. You understand? Society has values. Society has simple ways of life that everybody admires, that, oh, this is a way of life that is okay for everybody. So if you ask me whether we have rules, not seen anyone any yet, but we all know that in a society we must keep our environment clean, and not only the environment, but the human body itself must be kept clean. So let us not confuse this Rastafarian issue with what untidy lifestyle. We can't do that.
And then I was going to ask you a question, just a general question. I don't know if you heard about the Central Regional Chairman of the Ghana National Association of Teachers' view on the state of Ghana's education. He says, and I'm guessing because he's the Central Regional Chairman, there may be a lot of pressure on him to speak up on behalf of the schools. He's saying, teachers and everybody who is involved in this system, speak out about the challenges of what you are facing at the basic school level or the senior high school level, the challenges you are facing. Is there an environment created, an atmosphere that makes it difficult for you as a teacher to, for example, say, the situation you are creating is making it difficult for me to have even a break, to have some breathing space, to rest from my work? Is there an atmosphere created that makes it difficult for you to talk?
Yes, if you ask me, I would say yes. Because even though I've not heard what he said, I've not heard that. But that is one of the reasons why I disagree with my leader, Angel Kabono, as you asked me earlier on. For instance, the issue about the teachers not having break because of the system that we are running, I think those are the issues he should be talking about. Why is it that he, as a leader, is not raising those issues? But teachers in the school know that those are the issues. Now, if you go to the basic schools, as maybe you alluded to, they also have peculiar problems over there. Now, as we are speaking, you know, because of the new curriculum and those things, books are not there in the schools for the teachers to use. Yes, teachers are teaching their children. If you ask them, they will say that this and that and that. But the problem is that why is it that these things are not coming out? Individual teachers probably may not be able to come out and be speaking as the individual. And that is why we have leaders. So the leaders are the ones who will come out and say, yes, these are the real challenges. For instance, the boarding houses. We have trusts, which is made up of the headmasters of all the secondary schools and those things. Do they come out and say that this is our real challenges? And somebody said, why did you say that? The question is that, why are they not saying that? So it is not in my ability to speak and say all the problems that the teachers are having for now. But it is a collective exercise that all teachers, the leadership, headmasters, must say that, okay, these are the problems that we have in the school. Then, if we say those things genuinely, without any qualm, without fear, and we genuinely ask that government must pay attention to those things, I don't think that will call for any harassment from any quarters. For example, one of the problems that I think is also existing in the schools currently is that the reason why government said they will stop the double track and they couldn't stop is what? Accommodation, right? Because if the number of students are more, the dormitories are full, some will have to be in the house so as to allow some to live in the dormitory. So when they leave, then the others will come. When did you hear the headmasters coming together to say that these are the real challenge and we want government to pay attention to it? This is a serious crisis that we have in the country.
So to you feel that NAGRAT, instead of wasting their time being emotional about whether or not a student cuts their hair, they should dedicate that time, and NAT itself should dedicate that time to speaking about these issues, because a lot of them are also teachers and go through the same things you are going through.
Exactly. The real challenges in the school are the ones that I think that we should waste our energies on. The real challenges.
Well,
look at the country of about 31 million people, and we are all talking about 2 students who are supposed to enroll in the school. The only reason why we are all talking about, when we have stayed in this country with people wearing dreadlock for so many years, thousands of years we have been together, nobody has said that, oh, this person wearing dreadlock is a hindrance or is an impediment to my life. How can that become a huge problem? Why we have the real problems over there?
Well, thank you, Mr. Tete, for speaking to us this morning. And I'm guessing one of these days we should have another conversation on the state of our schools and what is happening there. Thank you for speaking to us.
I'm very grateful.
Mr. Benjamin Tete is a teacher and an educationist who has spent time to talk to us, explain issues to us about the education sector. And his explanation of the contact hours thing, I think one who has also gone on detail. With the DJ says the Rastafarian students will be accepted wholeheartedly by all the other students, and most of the teachers who are not old students is the principal who will feel defeated and might be a bit funny towards them. But as a Rasta, they know what to do and say at what time, where, and to who. Jalif.